In short, after being threatened and persuaded by her Aunt Karen, Kira finally agreed to go back to the country for a blind date. In fact, she still trusted Karen's taste. This was also one of the reasons why she reluctantly agreed. The night before she went, Karen specially called her again. "This blind date is indeed a top-notch one. At least he looks good. Although he doesn't make as much money as you, he's not bad either." Kira was curious. "Auntie, my reputation has been particularly bad recently. Are you sure that he won't fall out with me after meeting me?" "Don't worry, he definitely won't," Karen said. "He's also a legal worker and understands this industry very well. He especially understands your heartache." Corners of Kira's mouth twitched. "Can you tell me where he works? I don't think I've met him before, right?" "At the Procuratorate." "Then I have most likely met him before." Kira suddenly regretted agreeing to this blind date. "Go! You have to go for me! I specially arranged it for you. If you don't go, I won't be able to save face," Karen directly shouted. Kira could only brace herself and drive. On the way, she thought about the handsome but unmarried man in the Procuratorate. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Karen had found a younger man? She had no interest in a younger man, and she didn't want to find a legal professional either. After all, they were lawyers who often argued with the Procuratorate in court. If they were to get married, the two of them would have to avoid certain topics. After all, one was a lawsuit for the country and the other was a lawsuit for the parties involved. What was even more difficult was that if the two of them who knew the law were to get divorced in the future, they would definitely fight to the death. Therefore, Kira did not hold any hope for this blind date, but at the same time, she could not fall out with the other party. It would be best if they could become friends in the end. The location of the blind date was a vegetarian restaurant. The other party probably got Kira's number from Karen. At 12 o'clock, he sent a message to Kira. "I'm here, table 12. Kira pondered over this message. She was actually not familiar with it at all. Logically speaking, she should have a number for many prosecutors in the Procuratorate. After all, although Rosewood City was big, the legal network was indeed small. Kira had previously studied at Rosewood City's University of Political Science and Law for 2 years. Later on, she studied overseas. Many of her friends who did not study abroad finished their studies here. Some of them entered the local procuratorate or court, and some became lawyers. Later on, they returned to the country for a gathering. A group of people of similar age often brought friends along. After meeting several times, they had become familiar with each other. It was just that she had never seen this number before. After parking the car, Kira walked straight in. The environment inside was not bad. The waiter told her the location of table 12. From afar, Kira could see the figure of a man sitting on the seat with his back facing her. The man was wearing a white shirt, and a gray suit was placed on the chair beside him. However, looking at the man's broad shoulders, she could sense his elegant and noble temperament. The sun was shining on him, and he gave the illusion that he was shining even without looking at his face. Kira glanced at the waitress who kept peeking at him. She understood that the man her aunt had introduced had good facial features. She had been dealing with Aaron and Richard for a long time, so she was basically immune to handsome men. However, at this moment, she had to admit that the man's back was really moving. However, when did the Procuratorate hire such a person? She didn't even know about it. Could it be that she had just been transferred here? For some reason, she was actually somewhat interested in today's blind date. She raised her high heels and walked over. The heels of her high heels hit the ground, giving off an imposing aura. The other party seemed to have heard her. He turned around and a hint of surprise flashed across Brexter's cold face. Kira was so shocked that her high heels stumbled. She bumped into a waiter who was passing by with fruit juice in his hands. Half a glass of orange juice splashed on the sleeve of her dress. It was really a tearless scene. She had just bought a dress not long ago in France. It was under such an awkward situation. The last time she bumped into Brexter in the toilet, she had already lost all face because of that lipstick bar. And now she had lost all face again. I'm sorry. The waiter quickly apologized. He took a tissue from the table beside him and handed it to her. It's okay, I wasn't careful and bumped into you. Kira took the tissue and wiped it, but her sky blue sleeves couldn't be saved. This is my orange juice, right? Brexter suddenly stood up and frowned. The waiter looked at Kira and then at Brexter. In the end, she bit her lip and fell into a dilemma. Kira said, How much is the orange juice? I'll pay for it. Okay. The waiter heaved a sigh of relief. Ma'am, which table would you like to sit at? I can charge it to you. Kira glanced at Brexter's seat number. In her heart, she couldn't stop cursing her aunt. What prosecutor's office? He was obviously from the court, and he was the most ruthless and cold-blooded Brexter from the court. Before her aunt introduced the blind date, could she find out about the other party's unit first? Furthermore, she and Brexter had a grudge now, all right? However, she definitely couldn't admit that she was here for the blind date. Just as she was about to speak, the waitress who had asked Kira for the seat number suddenly walked over and said, This customer is going to table 12. Brexter's brows furrowed so tightly that it could kill a fly. You're the niece of the friend that the chief introduced? What the hell, chief? Kira quickly denied it with a straight face. So, Chief Judge Williams is here for a blind date. But I think you're mistaken. I only invited a friend over for a meal. But you said the 12th. Then I must have made a mistake. Kira only wanted to find an opportunity to buy this glass of fruit juice and quickly slip away. Is that so? Brexter's jet black pupils became more meaningful, clearly a little suspicious. His gaze couldn't help falling on Kira's clothes. In the past few short encounters, she had always been dressed in a neat professional outfit, but today she was wearing a light blue long dress. Her usual beauty, sexiness, and sharpness seemed to have been restrained. Instead, she looked a little dignified and elegant. Kira's heart raced when she saw his suspicious look. After all, she had been through a lot in court, so she still looked calm and composed. She met Brexter's gaze and suddenly smiled sweetly. What? Don't tell me you want me to be your blind date. There are more men than women in this society. Do people like me still need to go on blind dates? Brexter frowned. This was the second time he had crossed swords with her. He didn't know where this woman got such confidence from. Could it be that she had been friends with Aaron for too long and was infected? Don't think too much. Brexter retracted his gaze indifferently. It's good that you don't think too much. Kira heaved a sigh of relief. She took out her phone and pretended to say, I'll call my friend and ask her which table she's at. I'll pay for your orange juice later. Just as she finished speaking, her aunt's voice came from behind. Hey, Kira, you bumped into Mr. Williams. How nice. I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to find a place, so I came over. Kira's body instantly felt like it was frozen. Her mind was racing. She must not have slept well last night and was hallucinating. Brexter looked back. The person who came was about 40 years old and dressed rather fashionably. Of course he had met her before. She was a friend of his chief and also the auntie of this blind date. 2 days ago, the chief had specially brought her over to visit him. Actually, he didn't really like it, but the middle-aged auntie's mood was mostly the same, so he turned a blind eye to it. However, she seemed to know Kira. His gaze fell on Kira in front of him once again. He didn't know when, but her face was as red as an apple. He instantly understood. The cold and indifferent Brexter couldn't help smiling faintly. Oh, didn't you have a date with a friend? Since when did I have a friend like you? However, Karen was still unaware as she walked over with a smile. The more she looked at Brexter's face, the more satisfied she became. Look at his temperament, his side. He was definitely born with it. Kira, have you introduced yourselves? Mr. Williams is the one I set you up with. He works in the prosecutor's office. Mr. Williams, this is my niece. She's a lawyer. Kira wanted to cry. Auntie, could you be more reliable in introducing your niece to someone? You even got the wrong person's work unit. Brexter was stunned for a few seconds before he stood up and explained, Hello, I work in the court. Karen was stunned for a moment before she asked awkwardly, But wasn't the last time I saw you in the prosecutor's office? Chief also works in the prosecutor's office. She said she's your colleague. Chief transferred to the prosecutor's office last year. I went to the prosecutor's office a few days ago to take care of some matters, and you happened to run into me that time, Brexter explained. Karen was enlightened. Oh, I see. But it's fine. The prosecutor's office and the court are actually not that different. After all, they're both working in the law. Kiara couldn't help interrupting. There's still a big difference. The prosecutor's office is the legal supervision organ, while the court is the judicial organ. Karen pondered for a moment. She said, I roughly understand. In simple terms, no matter if it's the procuratorate or the lawyers, they will always send the case to court, right? To put it bluntly, it's a bit like a food chain ladder. The court stands on top and your lawyers stand below. No matter how you and the procuratorate plot against each other, the court will decide, right? In any case, Auntie was here to make Kiara lose face. She didn't want to talk anymore. Brexter's eyes flashed with a faint smile. There's no such thing as who's the boss, but if you have to explain it this way, it makes sense. The more Karen looked at Brexter, the more satisfied she became. Mr. Williams, you're really young and promising. All right, I won't disturb you young people from your conversation. I still have to go back and cook for the children. You guys can chat. The main reason why she had come was because she had promised Kira a blind date a few times before. In the end, the guy always stood her up, so she was worried and rushed over to take a look. Auntie, you should go back quickly, Kira hurriedly urged her. If her aunt decided to stay any longer, she would be in deep trouble. Karen made a face at her, then left in a good mood. The restaurant was bustling with customers, but Kira only felt awkward. Brexter looked at her without saying a word, but his gaze was thought-provoking. Kira felt embarrassed. I didn't expect my auntie to be talking about you. What a coincidence. Because she said he was from the prosecutor's office. I didn't expect. I'm not your date yet, Brexter said bluntly. Kira took a deep breath. Since it was already like this, she could only press forward shamelessly. I'm talking about a blind date. There are more men and fewer women now. Does a person like Miss Kell still need to come for a blind date? Brexter returned the question. Kira gave a tight-lipped smile. Did a man need to be so petty? Brexter saw that her usually proud and delicate face was now extremely red, embarrassed, and bright. He suddenly felt that it was quite interesting. Miss Kell, take a seat. Don't block the guests from passing by. Since you're already here, we can talk about why you still need to come on a blind date. Kira glared at him and sat down opposite him, telling him the truth. Chief Judge Williams, I'm doing this for our own good. The two of us parted on bad terms last time, and now we've met on a blind date. It's very awkward. Moreover, I feel that a person like you, who is as light as the wind and as bright as the moon, wouldn't want to deal with a vulgar and Philistine lawyer like me on a blind date. That's why I said that on purpose. Brexter smiled. Although he knew that this young lawyer was cunning and could speak well, he didn't expect her to be so good at it, and her face didn't even turn red when she lied. Really? He raised an eyebrow. That wasn't what you said last time. You said I was a pervert and wanted to peek at you. Kira choked. She didn't expect this man to be so narrow-minded. It had already been half a month and he still remembered so clearly. After thinking about it, I feel that it was a misunderstanding. Brexter nodded, his lips moving slightly. Kira was afraid that he would discuss why she had come on a blind date again, so she quickly added, "Since we can eat together, it's also kind of fate. I wonder if you've ordered yet." "Yes," Brexter replied calmly. Kira fell silent. Although she had never been on a blind date before, this man had already ordered the dishes before she arrived. That didn't seem right. What if the woman didn't like the dishes at all? Although the man was good-looking, his looks couldn't be used as food. She could now understand why Brexter was always single. Brexter's sharp gaze seemed to see through her thoughts. "I still have work in the court. I have to go back at 1 o'clock later." Kira understood, so if they waited for her to order more food, the meal would probably end very late. Actually, this was also good. Everyone should finish their meal earlier and go their separate ways. "Oh, right. Remember to pay for that drink later," Brexter suddenly said. Kira was speechless. "I can split it with you." "No need. I'm not that stingy," Brexter claimed indifferently as he took a sip of tea. Kira cursed silently in her heart. Even if he wasn't stingy, he still wanted her to pay for that cup of fruit juice. "Excuse me, was that cup of fruit juice for me?" Kira asked tentatively. "You're thinking too much," Brexter said. Kira blinked. Could they just leave without eating this meal? Before the dishes were served, the two of them looked at each other in silence for a while until Kira drank 2 cups of tea. She really couldn't stand the atmosphere and spoke first. "Oh, right. Chief Judge Williams, why are you suddenly here for a blind date? With such good conditions, there should be many women chasing after you. What do you want from your future partner?" "Chief and I have been talking about blind dates for a year." Brexter seemed to have recalled something that gave him a headache. He frowned. "I hope that my future partner can be more honest and generous in the future. Don't be too fake." Kira took a sip of tea gloomily. Why did she feel that his words seemed to imply that she was not being honest and was not saying what she meant? "Then I'm really sorry." Kira smiled brightly. "Lawyers like us have always preferred to wear masks. Might not be suitable for the person you want to marry." Brexter nodded. "I know. That's why I didn't even think about it after meeting you." Kira could no longer hold back her smile. She put down her teacup and said in annoyance, "Chief Judge Williams, if that's the case, since both of us don't like each other, let's just skip this meal and go home." Brexter remained calm. "Let's eat before we leave. I ordered dishes for 2. I can't finish them all by myself. Don't waste them." Kira's mouth twitched. She had seen plenty of top-notch men, but she had never seen such a top-notch one. "I said we'll split the bill. Even though I'm gone, I'll pay for half the food." "I know you guys make a decent income as lawyers, but you should save some money." Brexter pursed his sharp lips. "The incident last time caused quite a stir. I don't think you'll be able to take on a case anytime soon. It's better to save money." "He's just rubbing it in." Kira was depressed. Although she had earned quite a lot of money over the years and made some investments, there were too many places to spend money. She had even opened such a large law firm and had to spend money everywhere, especially after that incident. The number of cases that the law firm had taken on was getting fewer and fewer. She went to France again and spent quite a lot of money on the purchase. She also had to pay off the mortgage for several houses. "You knew about it too?" After a while, Kira cast her gaze over with mixed feelings. "I heard that the case was negotiated in private." "Yes." The case had already passed, so Brexter did not hide it. "The second trial was lost, and the family really did not have any money. In addition, her family really did not have any money, so they gave in. The suspect will be able to go to jail for a year." Kira laughed when she heard that, sneering sarcastically. Previously, her client had been crying for justice for his daughter, but that was all. In the end, he could just take a little more money and sell his daughter. As for her, she had been reprimanded by him everywhere. She did not know how to describe this kind of person. Brexter looked at the indignant look between her brows and asked indifferently, "What are you angry about? Because your opponent didn't get enough punishment or because your client took the money and backed out?" Kira had to admit that Brexter's words were sharp, but she didn't want to be so easily pierced by the wound in her heart. "I don't blame anyone. I only blame myself. I was the one who took the case. I chose the path. Among the people we lawyers usually interact with, I've met all kinds of people." "Is that so?" Brexter stared at her without blinking. "You say you don't mind, but you're actually holding a ball of fire in your heart. But it's good that you know your place. Indeed, you should only blame yourself." Kira's chest heaved up and down. She had never seen such an irritating man. Brexter continued to speak sharply. "Furthermore, you must have your own selfish motives for taking on this case. This case has attracted a lot of attention from the start. You want to use this case to regain your reputation, just like how Kenneth's case was overturned previously." Kira blushed and said angrily, "That's right. I'm like that. We, lawyers, want fame in this industry. Without fame, we can't make money." "It's not always as good as Roald's case," Brexter continued. "That time it was because of Aaron's help. Otherwise, you wouldn't have overturned the case so easily." "Keep talking. If you keep talking, I won't be able to accompany you for this meal," Kira said angrily. Brexter pursed his thin lips and averted his gaze. After a minute of silence, Kira drank 2 more cups of tea. Suddenly, he spoke coldly again. "Don't make yourself sound so bad. If it was for money, you wouldn't have scolded me like that in the toilet. You just put yourself in too deep. When facing a case, you put too much emotion into it. You think you're fighting for justice. But you're not. In court, it's hard to tell who's righteous and who's rebellious. Can you guarantee that every case you handle is for the victim?" Kira was angry. The first few sentences sounded like this person was comforting her, and then felt like satirizing her. "I cannot," she admitted with a flushed face. Many agents like to beautify themselves because no one is willing to expose their ugliest side to others unless they have no other choice. "So, you never know someone's true intention." Brexter's expression was still indifferent. "Similarly, even as a judge, I cannot admit that every case I judged the real murderer was brought to justice." Kira was stunned. Only then she realized he didn't say those words to mock her. "Don't misunderstand me. I'm saying this not because I thought your opponent deliberately killed his wife as you did. As a judge, I only believe in the evidence in front of me," Brexter added calmly. "If the judge didn't follow the law's procedure to execute the case, then there would be no need for the judge to exist." Kira instantly fell silent. Indeed, everyone has their own point of view when they are facing a problem. Kira couldn't use her position as a prosecutor to demand Brexter. It would be unfair to anyone. "Are you explaining this case to me?" A layer of confusion clouded her heart. "No," Brexter denied. "It's just that as a lawyer, I can sense your blind spot in ignorance of the law. So I'm giving you a lesson." Kira glared at him. She was just being sarcastic. Was there a need to ask that question? She shouldn't have stayed. But since she had already stayed, was she going to leave like that? She felt even if she wanted to leave, she had to make Brexter half dead before she could vent her anger. Just then, the dishes started to be served. The first dish was a garden salad. Kira quickly picked up her cutlery. She just wanted to eat as fast as possible and leave, but when she ate, the taste was indescribable. The second dish was rice and baked vegetables. It looked pretty good, but after taking a bite, Kira couldn't hold it in anymore. "Have you eaten here before? Are you not sincere enough to set up a blind date so you invited me to such a terrible vegetarian restaurant on purpose?" Brexter frowned. He agreed that the dishes were unpalatable. "I've never eaten here before, but I saw this restaurant's decor was pretty good when I was walking to work." Kira sighed unhappily. "Have you ever been to a restaurant with a good environment when you hang out with your friends? Why would I go to a restaurant with a good environment when I'm with my friends? Brexter asked stiffly. My colleagues and I usually eat at a home-cooked restaurant. Initially, I planned to meet you at a home-cooked restaurant, but the chief rejected it. She really had to thank the chief. Otherwise, if it was her first blind date to go to a home-cooked restaurant that was completely devoid of romance, a woman like her who pursued a romantic quality would definitely be scared away. But now, when she thought about it, she would rather be scared away. You have the reason for being single up until now. Kiera raised her teacup sincerely to toast him. I think you will continue to be single. I wish you a lifetime of singlehood. Brexter stared at her with a livid expression. His body remained constant. Kiera suddenly felt at ease. It wasn't a waste for her to endure the humiliation and stay. Although he didn't want to clink his glass with her, she wasn't embarrassed either. Just as she was about to drink, Brexter suddenly raised his teacup and clinked glasses with her. I finally understand why you're single too. Wish you to be single until the end of the world. This person definitely had a sharp tongue. Kiera simply held the teacup, no longer in any mood to drink tea. On the contrary, Brexter saw that the smile hidden in her eyes seemed to have disappeared. However, he was still in an inexplicable mood, as the corners of his mouth slightly raised into a smile. He finished drinking his tea. As the last serving of wild mushroom soup was served, Kiera was no longer in the mood to fight with him, otherwise she might have been angered to death. Fortunately, she was still able to drink the mushroom soup. After Brexter finished drinking half a bowl of the wild mushroom soup, he suddenly wiped the corners of his mouth and stood up. Miss Kell, I will be going to the washroom. Kiera nodded. It's normal for you to go to the washroom after drinking so much tea. Hurry up and go. Don't damage your kidneys. Brexter lowered his head and looked at her. It's not good for you to be so concerned about my kidneys on our first date. Girls should be more reserved. Kiera almost spat out her mouthful of soup. Just then, the waitress had come over with the last dish. When she had heard his ambiguous words, her face immediately turned red in embarrassment. She looked at Kiera with a complicated expression. She really couldn't tell that this beautiful woman was so wild in her heart. But why did this woman look so familiar? Kiera fiercely glared at Brexter, as though she wanted to eat him up, but he just replied calmly, Wait here, I'll be back soon. Do you think I can't bear to see you leave? These words, have you no shame? Who wants to wait for you? Don't make it sound like we're in an ambiguous relationship. Your dishes have all been served. The waitress nodded slightly and turned to leave. Kiera filled her bowl with rice. Right now, she just wanted to finish the meal quickly and leave as soon as he returned. After 7 minutes passed, Brexter returned. Kiera said impolitely, You were gone for quite some time. I thought you fell into the toilet. Brexter took out a receipt from his pocket and passed it over. I went to pay the bill. This is the cost for your glass of juice. Kiera was speechless when she saw the receipt. He actually asked the cashier to write a separate receipt for the glass of juice. $48 for a glass of juice? That's really expensive. Uh-huh. That's why I asked you to compensate me, Brexter said casually, as though he didn't feel that asking his female date to compensate for a glass of juice was a shameful matter. Kiera's mouth twitched as she opened her wallet and took out a $100 bill. Brexter didn't take the bill and instead turned on his phone. I don't have any change, just transfer it to me. She wired the money to him after saving his number. His registered name, Law for Life, was displayed. She raised her head. What an outdated nickname. Under normal circumstances, only a 40-year-old uncle would use this kind of nickname. Brexter's handsome brows furrowed. Just then, as she clicked to add him, he also saw her nickname. Aaron. Could this be considered fraud? Kiera laughed. Come on. Living in a second-tier city like Rosewood City, how many top lawyers don't have pen names? You, on the other hand, should change your outdated philosophy. Brexter was expressionless, simply throwing out the words, Pay back my money. Thank you for your hospitality, Chief Judge Williams. I have repaid your money and the meal is over. It's about time for us to leave. I hope we won't meet each other again, except in the court. Why? Rexter was puzzled. Kira let out a sardonic laugh. Why? Do you want to know why? When the two of us are together, it's as if Mars and Earth collided with each other. Sooner or later, it would end in tragedy. As both of us are engaged in the legal profession, Miss Kell, do refrain yourself from sounding like an alarmist. We know that Mars will never hit Earth, at least not in our lifetime, Rexter replied calmly. And I disagree with what you just said about us. I'm a strict, law-abiding citizen. I would never do anything illegal, but would you? His alarming gaze swept over her. Kira was dumbstruck. This man's crazy. He misinterpreted her words as if she was a threat to society. When I said it would end in tragedy, I didn't mean it like that. Rexter looked up calmly. Well, what else were you talking about then? Could it be something about our relationship? Kira shuddered. Don't read too much into it. Rexter glanced at the table and got to his feet. Miss Kell, no matter which possibility, do take note that your ideas are very dangerous. Dangerous my ass. Kira took a deep breath. See you never, she uttered as she picked up her bag and stormed out of the restaurant. Rexter watched after her as she left his sight, his eyes filled with interest that he didn't even notice. Kira sighed wearily as she walked towards the parking lot. Her work had not been going smoothly, and when she had finally mustered up her courage to go on a blind date, she had met with a weirdo. Perhaps it was like what Aaron had said. She needed to go to seek some blessing some other time. She had parked her car in the parking lot outside the store, but as she approached her car, she saw someone puncturing her tires. What are you doing? Kira immediately rushed over, yet it was too late. She realized that 3 of her tires had been sabotaged. The person who had slashed her tires was a woman in her 30s. She was holding a fruit knife in her hand, but she did not panic when she was caught red-handed. Instead, she got up. Can't you see? I slashed your tires. A mistress like you deserved it, you deceitful lawyer. Are you nuts? Kira was beyond enraged. Though she had been publicly shamed online not long ago, the address, license plate number, and phone number of her law firm had been leaked. As she stayed abroad for half a month, the law enforcement had banned the scandalmonger's social media account and imposed a fine for his criminal charges. What she did not anticipate was such a thing to happen after her return. After all, she was a lawyer. She quickly regained her composure before she began to collect pertinent evidence. She grabbed her cell phone and started taking photos. Who would have guessed that the woman was not frightened at all? Take as many photos as you want, she taunted. I slashed your tires because of how unethical you are as a lawyer. Even if you posted it online, it would be in my favor. If there were fewer idiots like you in this world, there would not be so many unfortunate families and there would not be so many couples divorcing. The woman had an ear-splitting voice. It was lunchtime and she had caused a scene. People were coming back out from the restaurant to watch the commotion. Hey, everyone! Remember the woman who died after getting hit by her husband in a car some time ago? This person was the lawyer who represented her in the lawsuit. Well, she lost her case. The victim's parents ended up losing everything while she's living a lavish life. She drives a BMW and she's all dressed up in expensive clothing. Oh, right. I forgot to mention that her younger sister is also a mistress. She ruined someone else's family at such a young age. When the person's wife was going to teach her younger sister a lesson, she had the audacity to bring a lawsuit against the victim, and the victim had to pay a huge amount of compensation to her. She continued, And do you know how miserable the victim has been? Her husband was seduced, and she even had to pay that little skank. All of this happened at the hands of this conscienceless lawyer. The onlookers immediately gathered around Kiera and began to point. I remember now. It was all on the news a while ago. The parents of the deceased were quite miserable. Yeah, how could it be? It's said that the deceased family was very poor and used the money to go to court. Later, after the court case was lost, even eating became a problem. It's too tragic. No wonder she can drive such an expensive car at such a young age. She's really evil. I guess the whole family's evil. After all, with a younger sister as a mistress, how good can an older sister be? Damn, how disgusting! One look and you can tell that she's a vixen. All kinds of voices drifted into Kiera's ears. There were even people holding their cell phones and starting to record videos of her. It was not that Kiera had not seen those abusive words on the internet, but when she heard it with her own ears, she still felt that every word was like a knife. She really did not understand. What she had done was worthy of her profession and her conscience, but in the eyes of others, she seemed to be an unpardonable, evil person. Her body trembled in anger, but she restrained herself. After all, it wasn't the first time she had been blamed, especially when she had just started working as a lawyer. It was common for her to lose a lawsuit and get scolded badly. Later on, when she filed a lawsuit against Ella when she left the court, she was accused in the face, but she managed to pull through. Brexter had just came out of the restaurant and was about to return to the office. When he was about to cross the parking lot to the other side of the road, he saw that it was quite lively outside with many people gathered together. As a judge, he had a sense of responsibility. Even though he was in a rush to work, he still walked over. He pushed aside the crowd and saw Kiera standing in front of the bus with a pale face. There were many unpleasant discussions beside her. He instantly understood. Without hesitation, he walked over with his long legs. His tone was cold but full of authority. No matter what reason you have no right to destroy other people's private property. Your actions are no different from breaking the law. Don't hesitate. Call the police. Kiera was stunned. She turned to look at Brexter's stern yet sharp face. She didn't expect him to appear out of nowhere. If he appeared now, he might be involved. These people wouldn't think too highly of the person who helped her. As expected, the woman said loudly, I just saw you having dinner with him inside. I think she's your date. They're all the same. You men are good with this kind of vixen. If you call the police, call the police. Do you think I'm afraid? Since I dared to do it, I'm not afraid. I'm upholding justice. There were fewer women like her in this society. My husband wouldn't have abandoned me to be with a mistress. Brexter finally understood. This woman had probably gone overboard because her husband had dumped her, and Kiera's incident was just a way for her to vent. If your husband left you and ran off with his mistress, the mistress was at fault, and so was your husband. But that doesn't mean you're a complete victim. Have you ever reflected on yourself and realized that you might be at fault as well? He spoke word by word, but his tone was extremely cold. In a marriage, there is no absolute right or wrong. Perhaps you, as a wife, are at fault as well. Of course, if you are not at fault and you are very sure that you are a perfect and good wife, then shouldn't you also reflect on your poor taste in men? In any case, it was you who chose the man. The walls of marriage are not stable, so what right do you have to blame it on someone you don't know? The woman was stunned by his sharp words. Kiera was stunned too. She never thought that the sharp-tongued Brexter would actually help her. Before she could react, Brexter continued. Does she know your husband? Does she know that mistress? She doesn't even know you. The country doesn't need people like you to uphold justice. Your actions are contrary to the law. Nevertheless, I can see that you don't know anything about the law. But I can tell you that according to criminal law, whoever intentionally destroys public or private property if the amount is larger or if there are other serious circumstances, shall be sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment of not more than 3 years, criminal detention, or a fine. If the amount is huge or if there are other particularly serious circumstances, shall be sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment of not less than 3 years. Kira almost gave him a thumbs up when she heard that. As expected of a judge, his understanding of the criminal law was at his fingertips, which he could quote freely. The woman panicked. "Nonsense! That guy killed his wife and was only sentenced to 3 years in prison." "It seems like you really don't know much about the law." Rexter calmly took out his phone and dialed a number. "So, I have to send you to the police station to learn and understand better." The woman wasn't afraid of calling the police, but she was lost when she heard about the long-term imprisonment. She screamed, "Why are you helping a woman like her? A woman like her should go to hell." Rexter frowned, and when he was about to speak, Kira felt that since he had already helped her, she couldn't let him continue helping her anymore, so she spoke before he could. "What kind of woman is a woman like me? Why must I go to hell? Did I do anything insane?" The woman sneered. "Everyone knows clearly what you did. A lot of netizens did not know. Do you want me to tell them all?" "Sure," Kira nodded. "There's actually someone filming on the side today, then I'll confront you. That's right, my sister is a mistress. She did something wrong. Does this mean that others could cut her face and disfigure her without any restraint? This is an illegal act in the eyes of the law. Since it's illegal, we should appeal. This is also the responsibility of a lawyer like me. Nowadays, who doesn't have family members who do wrong that we hate so much? Does it mean that we can ignore her because she was wrong?" The onlookers looked at each other speechlessly. Initially, it was very satisfying that the mistress was punished. But now that they thought about it from her point of view, they actually felt that it did make some sense. But the woman was unwilling to accept it and was about to open her mouth again. Kira took a step forward and her gaze became overbearing. "As for what you said about me fighting this case, that's right. I lost the case. Don't tell me that I can't charge fees when I lose. Back then, we signed the agreement in black and white. I'm a lawyer, not a philanthropist. It's only right and proper for me to charge fees. Don't make yourself sound so great. Don't tell me that when you see an old lady or a child begging on the street and you feel sorry for them, you will be kind enough to give them $100 every time you see them. Don't tell me that when people owe you money and when you see that they don't have a good family background, they don't have to pay you back. Or when you see an old lady selling vegetables on the street at her age, will you give her free money? Have you done all these before?" The woman continued to be confused by her long speech. Kira smiled and her high heels approached step by step. People who do business in restaurants don't stop charging for food just because their customers are poor. People who sell skincare products don't refund their customers just because their products are ineffective to their customers. Teachers don't stop charging for lessons just because their students' grades don't improve. No one else has done it, so why do you insist on putting this kind of blame on me? When you criticize others, think about yourself first. This is a moral kidnapping. Do you think that moral kidnapping is not a crime? When moral kidnapping causes physical and psychological harm to a person, that's a crime. With your actions, you destroyed my car with a knife in your hand. I can totally sue you for excessive behavior, and even for having a subjective intention to hurt me. People like you are very dangerous, and it's very easy to send you to a mental hospital." Kira's tone became softer and softer, but the more she spoke, the colder it became. The woman was so frightened that the knife in her hand fell onto the ground. Before this, didn't she say that she was destroying private finances? How did it turn into a conscious attack? She even had to be sent to a mental hospital. Kira's red lips curved slightly. Suddenly, she said to the crowd that was filming the video, "Oh, right. If there are any bystanders who have been kidnapped by morality, they can come to me any time for a lawsuit. Coincidentally, I recently lost a case and my results aren't very good, so I can give you a half discount. Even though I lost this time, you can look at my past performance. It's impossible to win every case. All lawyers are the same." The conversation changed and everyone was stunned. Even Brexter was speechless. Was this woman actually in the mood to advertise for herself at such a time? The young man who recorded the video had his mouth wide open and was embarrassed. Kira looked at him with a smile and continued, "But this time, I can kindly remind you that circulating a video or photo without the consent of the person involved is an immoral act that violates the privacy of others. You can also get sued. I originally planned to sue you. This way you will be detained for more than 5 days or more than 10 days, and you will also be fined. But now I agree to let you upload the video. Although you have avoided the risk of going to jail this time, you should be more careful next time. It's not that every time you will meet a kind and understanding lawyer like me." The young man's face, which was originally red, suddenly turned pale. The hand holding the mobile phone trembled slightly. At this moment, he was not sure if it was a good idea to take a picture or not. He only felt that he would be afraid of the profession of lawyer in the future. Her words were like a machine gun, even scarier than a police officer's. Brexter looked at Kira, whose smile was getting deeper and deeper, and his cold brows couldn't help raising. This woman was quite surprising. She had been surrounded earlier, and her face turned pale. He had thought she was going to collapse, but in just a few minutes, she had turned into a fighter jet. She was quite impressive. Kira finally turned her gaze to the woman who had stabbed her tires. At this moment, her phone had already been dialed to the police. She calmly stated to the police, "Yes, she stabbed 3 of my tires, and she was holding a fruit knife. She looked very dangerous. I didn't dare to get close to her." The woman didn't dare to stay any longer. She turned around and wanted to run away. Kira calmly said from behind, "You can run. There are cameras everywhere. I took a photo of you just now. You won't be able to escape if you run to the ends of the earth." What do you want?" the woman screamed. "I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to a mental hospital." Kira ignored her and walked away. Soon enough, people's attention turned to Brexter, who was now walking behind Kira. "They seem like a power couple," someone from the crowd said, followed by a series of yes. "So good looking. They are definitely together," a woman suspected. Although Brexter had walked away, he could still hear what the others said. He was stunned for a few seconds. But after thinking about it for a while, he actually felt what others had said was not unreasonable. Kira also heard what the bystanders were saying, and she felt a little uncomfortable. How could these people think that she and Brexter were a couple? It was obvious that they were not a match. 8 minutes later, the police arrived. Kira told them the whole story. Then the police gave the woman a warning before leaving. After that, Kira waited for the car repair company to arrive, then towed the car to the repair shop. She went back by taking a taxi. On the way back, she received a call from Karen. "How was it? How was the blind date? Did you exchange numbers with Mr. Williams? Do you think that I arranged a good blind date this time? Mr. Williams is handsome, right? I dare say that his looks are definitely not worse than Aaron, whom you had a crush on in the past." Kira was calm. Having a crush on Aaron was a hurdle that she couldn't get over in the eyes of her friends and relatives. "Auntie, don't mind me saying," Kira rubbed between her eyebrows and said, "Before you introduce me to someone, don't you have to figure out who they work for? He's obviously from the court, yet you told me that he's from the prosecutor's office. Isn't it just work units? What's wrong with making a mistake? They're all in the field of law anyway. I just asked your chief, and he's the chief judge, the youngest and most handsome chief judge in court. What does it mean to be able to become the chief judge in his early 30s? He's destined to have a bright future," Karen said bluntly. "The title of the judge and your title as a lawyer are completely on a different level." Kira's face was calm. "Then, do you know who was the presiding judge in my lost case? It was Brexter. After losing that case, he caused a huge commotion and destroyed my reputation. I had no choice but to hide overseas." What a coincidence, Karen suddenly realized. "Don't tell me that you're jealous of Brexter because of that." Kira snorted coldly. Karen replied unhappily, "You're really narrow-minded. Can you blame Brexter for losing the case? He wasn't the one who was operating the court. He was also only acting according to the law. If you want to blame someone, you have to blame yourself for accepting that kind of case, where you're not skilled enough and thus you lost the case. Your actions are throwing your anger at others for no reason. You're unreasonable." "Auntie!" Kira was so angry that her face turned red and her neck stiff. Although this was the truth, she was still unhappy in her heart. "If you ask me, this is the fate between the two of you," Karen advised earnestly. Kira chuckled. "This is an adverse fate. Moreover, I'm a lawyer and he's a judge. How are we going to get married? When we get married, we can't talk about work-related matters at all. We even have to be wary of each other's information. If we have any troubles at work, we can't share with each other. If we don't manage well, it'll be a leak." It's not as serious as you've said. Aren't the prosecutor and the lawyer also getting married?" Karen said. "Look at the bright side. If a lawyer and a judge get married, it'll be a strong alliance. In the future, who would dare to provoke you?" "Forget it. I can also protect myself." The two of them only ended the call when she was about to reach home. Kiara received a call from Richard before she was about to fall asleep after a shower that night. "Great. You're missing for a while and now you're on a hot search. There are more than 30,000 comments. Do you know how powerful you are now, the money-snatching Miss Kell?" "The money-snatching Miss Kell? What kind of nickname was that?" Richard sighed. "I realize that I underestimated you in the past. Fortunately, we are friends, and I now fully understand that it's better to offend a villain than a lawyer. But then again, how did you and Brexter end up together?" Kara coughed lightly. She knew that he must have watched the video that had been taken today. At that time, she'd only focused on the publicity and had completely ignored the fact that Brexter would also appear in the video. We bumped into each other by chance. That place is closer to the court, and he was eating nearby." "No wonder. I was wondering why the two of you would get together," Richard said. "I find that you judges and lawyers are too ruthless. You must not get together. Otherwise, with the eloquence of you two, anyone who sees you will have to take a detour to avoid offending you, just like that. Mr. and Mr. Smith in the legal world. They go down the wrong path, they're in cahoots with each other." Carol was calm and cold. "Richard, if you don't know how to describe it, then don't talk nonsense." Richard laughed. "Kiara, I believe that you will be able to make a comeback very soon. Oh yes, the next party will be your treat. It's your fault for earning tens of thousands of followers today." Kira simply had no strength to retort. "You guys can't compare to me, okay? Is this called earning more?" "Don't say that. What we earn is hard-earned money," Richard said shamelessly. Kira spat. She was too lazy to talk to him. At 9 p.m. after lying in bed, Kira found the video that Richard had mentioned. She expected it to be popular, but she didn't expect it to become so popular. She also thought that many people would scold her. But after reading the comments, the trend was quite strange. Commenter A: after watching the video, I actually think that the money-snatching Miss Kell is quite cool. There were more than 100 replies to this comment. Someone replied, so I'm not the only one who feels this way. Originally, I was quite disgusted with Kiera, but after hearing what she said, it actually made sense. What right do we have to morally kidnap her? User B replied, people who understand the law are really different in defending their rights. In the future, I must study law. I fell in love with law. User C: bro has decided. In the future, when I go to court, I will look for Kiera to rob money. Even if I lose, she's beautiful and has a great personality. She loves money very much and is very righteous. Bro appreciates her. User D: who is the man helping Kiera? He's quite handsome. He's not any worse than a celebrity. When he talks about the law, he is really manly. User E: I know, that's the chief judge of Rosewood City's court. Wow, how did these two get together? Let's give them a way out. Kiera was quite satisfied. Everyone's misunderstanding of her was gradually getting better. But when she saw the end, she was quite depressed. Why did everyone think that she and Brexter were a couple? However, Brexter's identity had been exposed so quickly. After all, he was a member of the government. It wouldn't affect him, right? After all, he had helped her today. Kiera didn't want to drag him into this. She also knew that some netizens were actually quite scary. She thought about it and started looking for his name on social media sites. However, after searching for a long time, she still couldn't find it. After looking through it carefully, she realized that Brexter's username had actually changed. She didn't believe it at first, but when she looked at his post, it was all about legal retweets and promotions confirming that this was Brexter. She sent a message over. Chief Judge Williams, how did you change your pretentious username? About 10 minutes later, he replied, what's the matter? Aaron, you haven't answered my question. Brexter 28. I'm looking at the case files. Please say it if you have something. It meant, don't say it if you have nothing. Kiera was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She shouldn't have asked him about it. His identity had been exposed by the netizens, and it was none of her business. However, since he had already asked, out of morality, she still replied, have you seen the recent trends? I was on the video with you. Some netizens have exposed your identity, so it shouldn't affect you, right? Brexter 28. No, I'm being right and justified. Kiera thought about it and agreed, so she didn't ask any more questions. She only replied, all right then, take a look at the information. I won't bother you anymore. After that, they didn't contact each other again. The next day, someone came to the law firm to inquire about the moral kidnapping that Kiera mentioned. What surprised Kiera was that there were really quite many people who had been kidnapped by morality. It was probably because when she mentioned 4 words, many people resonated with her. Many also sincerely asked her for advice. Of course, Kiera also replied bluntly, consultation is fine, but my hourly consultation fee is currently at a minimum of $2,000. This is the price after my value has plummeted. A while later, it will be $3,000 an hour. The intern, Sasha, was dumbfounded. After another consultant came out of Kiera's office in the afternoon, Sasha walked in with admiration. Miss Kell, I realize that you're really amazing. A while ago, you were criticized so badly that you couldn't even stay in the country anymore. You've turned around so beautifully so quickly. And there are even more people consulting you than before. When will I be able to earn as much as you do in a day? Kiera smiled bitterly. Is it that much? It's not even a third of what I earned in a day previously. Sasha wanted to cry at any moment. They were all lawyers and there was no need to be so discouraging. There's nothing to be sad about. Caleb walked in and patted her shoulder. Your Miss Kell is throwing a caution to the wind and asking for money without any shame. She is now known in the industry as a money robber. Otherwise, some people will always think that you are easy to bully if you don't speak up, Kiera said lightly. All right, others may not know, but I know you, Caleb said with a smile. You said so much in the video yesterday, but you didn't mention that you hardly took any fee from this client. Out of that minimum amount, you paid Sasha too. If you really told the truth, people wouldn't say that you were desperate for money. His daughter had just died. Why bother so much just to feel happy? Kiera shrugged in self-mockery after she finished speaking. You are sharp-tongued but soft-hearted. Caleb shook his head helplessly. Since you're back, you should start handling the case. Take a look at this case file and be my assistant this time. Kiera's face was black. Are you kidding me? You want me to be your assistant? Why not? Although there are many people who consulted you today, you lost the case last time and it affected the client's confidence in you. You should find something to do first. Caleb left smugly. Brexter had been very busy recently. He had a few difficult cases on his hands and he worked overtime every day until 10 o'clock before returning home. The video had been going on for a few days and many people in the court had seen it as well. The director immediately called him over. What's going on between you and that young lawyer, Kiera? Brexter frowned and thought for a while before replying. I saw an injustice on the road, so I lent a helping hand. Be frank. After a while, the director snapped. That restaurant is said to be an elegant vegetarian restaurant nearby. Why would a person like you go there who only prefers home-cooked food restaurants? Brexter was helpless. Everyone on the court was smart. Have you found a girlfriend? Director asked with a smile. Director, since when did you start gossiping? Brexter rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Director said earnestly, the country's population is aging rapidly. As government officials, we should respond to the call at any time and get married for the harmonious development of socialism. Look at you. You're the only one in the Bureau who hasn't gotten married in your early 30s. Of course, I have to care more. Work is important, but don't ruin your happiness. Brexter was speechless. After a long time, he had no choice but to say, I went on a blind date. With who? It can't be this little lawyer, right? Director was shocked. Yes. Director sighed. Why would you go on a blind date with a lawyer? You have to be more careful with the information regarding marriage cases in the future. Even if you two are very clear about your work, people's words are really scary. It's purely a coincidence. Brexter paused, remembering Kiera's appearance. He added, there's nothing bad about it. She's very strong. Even if I devote myself to my work in the future, she can still protect herself. The director was stunned. After a while, he said, You're just getting married purely for the sake of getting married. Your life's quite long. You still have to find someone you like and have feelings for. If you have such thoughts, you probably won't end up with her, so I won't worry too much about it. However, in order to avoid it, you should avoid the cases that Kiera has taken over temporarily. Brexter frowned. Why is it that I won't end up with her? Don't women look for men to marry in the hope of having someone to rely on in the future? Everyone has their sicknesses and frailties at some point in their lives. Your thoughts are just trying to take advantage of the girls. Better not trouble others. You might as well devote your limited energy to your work. You may leave. Director waved his hand. Brexter furrowed his brows that could kill a fly as he turned around and walked out. A week later, Kiera was sent to court by Caleb with the documents for the filing of the case. It was almost 4 in the afternoon when she arrived at the court. There was a queue again, and she was busy until almost 5 in the afternoon. Kiera passed the documents to a woman named Paige. Paige was shocked when she saw her. Miss Kell, why did you come in person? You were actually the assistant lawyer this time. Kira smiled calmly and lied. This case involves a huge amount of money. Caleb asked me to help him. Indeed, it's more than $1 billion in total. Paige looked at the information and said, All right, wait by the side. I'll inform you when I'm done. Then she recorded the information and called again. It took her more than 10 minutes to finish. The judge will mail the summons in a week. Kira nodded and turned to leave. Suddenly she heard a colleague ask Paige, Which judge will be assigned to this case? I don't know, but it's not Chief Judge Williams. Why? Paige chuckled. You don't know? This Miss Kell may soon become Chief Judge Williams' girlfriend and thus have to avoid him. Ah. Kira, who had walked to the door, felt a row of crows fly past her head. She couldn't help but turn back. Paige, why will I soon become Chief Judge Williams' girlfriend? Paige, who had just finished sharing the gossip behind Kira, replied awkwardly, I heard from others. Many people in the court know about the blind date between you and Judge Williams. Kira was also embarrassed and gritted her teeth. Where did this rumor come from? Could it be Brexter? Paige noticed her silence and quickly smiled. Actually, there's no need for embarrassment. Both of you are unmarried and Chief Judge Williams is our court belle. Kira felt mentally and physically exhausted. Your Chief Judge is the flower of the high mountains. I don't dare to pluck it myself. Don't say that. At least this is the first time we've heard that Chief Judge Williams went on a blind date, Paige said mischievously. Anyway, the higher-ups said that for the sake of the fairness of the court, the two of you have to avoid being in the same court. Kira was embarrassed. Wasn't it just a blind date? But thinking about it, it was actually a good thing. Her firm and Brexter really didn't get along well. Whenever they met Brexter, they would never win. As long as they avoided him as the chief judge, it wouldn't be too bad after all. Before they came, Caleb had specially lit a candle in front of the god, hoping that this time the chief judge wouldn't be Brexter. The candle had not been wasted, so when she gets back, she would ask him to share more with her. When Kira came out of the office, it was raining heavily outside. Her car was still parked in the courtyard, and if she ran down now, she would definitely get wet, so she might as well wait for the rain to subside. After standing in the corridor for more than 10 minutes, Brexter had just walked down the stairs and seemed to have just left the courtroom. He was dressed in a wide black judge's robe with a red front and golden buttons. To be honest, this set of clothes was indeed solemn, but Kira didn't really like it from her point of view. However, when this set of clothes was worn by the handsome Brexter, his entire body seemed to be coated with a layer of brilliance that didn't lose its restraint. At the same time, he exuded a cold and stern aura that made people respect him and not dare to offend him. However, his pair of slender legs looked like a male model under black clothes. Kira's gaze lingered on his long legs for a while before she raised her head again. Brexter's gaze was as deep as the ocean as he looked at her. After looking at each other for 2 seconds, Kira came back to her senses and quickly walked over. Chief Judge Williams, you came at the right time. I have something to ask you. Now, why does everyone in your courtyard know about my blind date with you? Did you tell them? Brexter was slightly taken aback. Does our department know about this? Don't you know? Kira exclaimed unhappily. I just came over to hand in the case files. Your colleagues are all talking about this. Brexter frowned. It must have come from the director or the chief. I will explain it to the dean later. Although we have been on a blind date before, our relationship has never progressed further. We have never contacted each other in private, so there is no need to do this for the time being. The more Kira listened, the more she felt that something was amiss. After all, she didn't want to meet him in the court for now, especially since you wanted Caleb to win the case and increase her share of profits. No, no, no. I feel that the court has done a very good job in evading. That's how it should be. Brexter raised his eyebrows. Kiera cleared her throat and quickly said, After all, rumors are terrible, right? We're an unmarried man and woman. One is handsome while the other is beautiful. Even if we're honest and magnanimous in our hearts, others won't think that way. Brexter asked, What will others think? Perhaps they will think that we're a good match, Kiera said as she braced herself. We are a good match. Brexter lowered his voice slightly. There was a deeper meaning in his last word. Kiera was afraid that he would let his imagination run wild, so she quickly explained, I'm talking about other people's thoughts. Without understanding us, other people would think that our appearance and work unit are not bad and we are a good match. But in reality, we both know that our personalities are not suitable at all, and it's impossible for us to be together. What you said is quite contradictory, Brexter thought for a while and concluded. No, I said it very clearly, Kiera smiled. Someone as smart and as wise as you would definitely understand. Yes, it's all right. Brexter threw his head out of the window. The heavy rain that was pouring earlier had gradually diminished. Oh yes, I suddenly remembered that Miss Kell, you still owe me a meal. Since I have some time in the evening, you can treat me. Kiera had a headache. Initially, the people in the courtyard had all misunderstood her. They walked out together, they would definitely misunderstand her even more. Does a high-ranking person like you still want a treat from me? Yes, I do, Brexter nodded. Recently, the house is being renovated. I'm short of money. I'm a little tight. Kiera raised an eyebrow. It was weird for such a cold and aloof person to say that he was short of money. I have to pay the mortgage, too. Yeah, I heard from Aaron that you're good at investing in real estate. You have several houses? Brexter's deep gaze fell on her face. That's good. I don't even have a chance to pay the mortgage. With that being said, what reason did she have to turn down this meal? Don't look like you're ready to die, Brexter said after a moment of silence. After all, you're currently paid $1,800 an hour for a consultation. How do you know? Kiera's expression turned odd. I heard from my colleagues that you've been quite famous recently, Brexter said as he shifted his gaze away. Kiera didn't suspect anything. She has been quite famous on the internet recently with more than 100,000 followers. Let's eat at this nearby family restaurant, Brexter decided. Kiera couldn't help asking, How did you know that I was free tonight? You're going on a blind date again? Brexter asked directly. No, Kiera felt helpless. How much do I love blind dates in your mind? Let me tell you, the last time was my first blind date, all right? In the past, I always rejected blind dates. But you, Chief Judge Williams, have been busy renovating your house. Do you want to get married and move into a new house as soon as possible? No, the new house is close to the court. It's convenient to go home after the renovation. Brexter asked straightforwardly, Do you want to treat me? I'm fine with anything. After he said that, he stared straight at her. His gaze seemed to be saying silently, You're so stingy that you refuse to treat me to a home-cooked meal even though you're paid $1,800 an hour for consultation. No, it's on me. I'm very honored to be able to treat great Chief Judge Williams, Kiera said, resigning to her fate. Where is the place? Please lead the way. There's no need to drive. It's a 5 or 6 minute walk. Wait for me at the door. I'll go get the umbrella, Brexter arranged. At 5:30, Brexter came out from his office with a navy blue umbrella. Kiera happened to be standing with her back facing him in the corridor. She was wearing a black and gray windbreaker with stockings and high heels underneath. Her ankles were sexy and her body was thin and straight. Her almond-colored curly hair was tied up. The fine rain drizzled down. She placed one hand in the pocket of her windbreaker and reached out with her other hand to receive it. Brexter stared at her for half a minute before he walked over with his long legs. "Let's go." As he spoke, he took out a tissue from his pocket and handed it to her. Kira was stunned. "Wipe your hands," he said simply. Kira received it in shock and wiped her wet fingers. Brexter opened the umbrella and Kira looked at the umbrella on his head. It was a normal umbrella, not too big or too small. But when she thought about how she had to squeeze under the umbrella and go to the restaurant with him, she felt weird and definitely awkward. She thought for a while and said, "I'd better drive there, otherwise I have to come back later to pick up the car. Wearing high heels is also not very convenient." Brexter frowned and thought for a moment. "Are you sure?" "Sure." Brexter nodded in agreement. "It's a restaurant on the left called Home Cuisine Restaurant. It's very eye-catching and has a bright red signboard." It was a really casual name for a home cuisine restaurant. Chief Judge Williams, you were also eating so casually that even she, who was treating, felt a little embarrassed. "Let's go. I'll send you to the car." Brexter covered her with half an umbrella. Actually, it was only about 20 meters away. Kira wanted to run over, but when she saw him move the umbrella over, she was too embarrassed to refuse. She tried her best to keep her distance from him, but the umbrella was only that big. The rain thus fell on her shoulder. Brexter saw it and silently moved the umbrella over. Kira also noticed that his shoulder was exposed, so she quickly said, "Chief Judge Williams, don't worry about me, just cover yourself." "It doesn't matter. I'll only send you to the car, it's not too far." Brexter's good-looking face remained indifferent. It was off-work time. He bumped into a few colleagues on the way to the parking lot. When they saw the two of them holding an umbrella, the colleagues all smiled mysteriously. When Judge Seller got his car out, he opened the window and gave a strange smile. "Brexter, are you finally welcoming spring?" "Haha. Miss Kell, not bad. You've been taking care of the most difficult judge in our court." Kira was speechless. Just as she was about to explain, Brexter frowned and said, "Judge Seller, you're thinking too much. We're not even friends." "Is that so?" Judge Seller raised his hand. "Then keep up the good work and try to let us drink your wedding wine as soon as possible. Every time it's you who drinks our wine, causing us to feel quite embarrassed." Judge Seller drove off in his small car. Kira glanced at the people beside her. Now, the people in the court have misunderstood us even more. Brexter nodded. "I reckon that we won't be able to meet in the court for a while." Kira suddenly fell silent. Thinking about it, there were actually some benefits to it. After getting into the car, Kira thanked him and Brexter walked towards the home-cooked food restaurant with an umbrella. Kira drove over and within 2 minutes she saw the home-cooked food restaurant. She had thought about it being simple and crude, but she didn't expect it to be so simple. Under the vulgar signboard there were words like hot tripe, stir-fried beef, boiled fish. Kira had been to such a restaurant when she was studying in Rosewood City. But after studying abroad, she had never been there again. Of course, sometimes she would work late into the night at the law firm and order fast food. She rarely set foot in it. What made Kira even more trouble was that there was no parking space in this place. She searched for a long time and finally found a place that was even further away from the court before she parked her car. Fortunately, she had an umbrella in her car, but it was not suitable to walk in the rain in high heels and stockings. She had to change into a pair of sneakers and walk for 10 minutes before she reached the restaurant. More than 10 minutes later, the dishes were served one after another. Although it was a small place, it looked, smelled, and tasted good. It indeed had the taste of a home-cooked meal. Kira felt that eating here was indeed better than cooking at home. "The dishes and oil here are clean." After eating for a while, Brexter suddenly mentioned, "It's better than the one at the vegetarian restaurant last time." "Yes, that's right." Kira nodded. "It's very delicious." Brexter lowered his gaze when he heard that. The gratification in the depths of his eyes disappeared in an instant. After about half an hour, the last small fire beef tripe was served. Kira ate to her heart's content for the first time, then wiped her red lips and went out to pay the bill. It was only a little over $100. It was practically the cheapest meal Kira had eaten in the past few years. After returning to the private chamber, Brexter had finished his meal. Kira said, "Chief Judge, thank you for inviting me to a delicious and affordable dinner. It was indeed delicious. I'm making a move now. I wish you a happy life, Chief Judge Williams, and a good appetite." Brexter blinked. "Goodbye." Kira carried her bag and waved her hand as she left, leaving the clouds behind. Brexter looked down at his watch. It was only 6:20. When he returned to his office, the young assistant Sandro, who had been left behind to work overtime, was eating his burrito while burying his head in the documents. When he saw that Brexter had returned, he quickly asked, "Chief Judge, why are you back already? Heard that you went on a date with Miss Kell?" Brexter's sharp gaze landed on him. Sandro covered his mouth and said embarrassedly, "Someone said it in the office group. Some of my colleagues also said that they saw you guys going to a home-cooked restaurant to eat." "Yes, we left right after we finished eating." Brexter sat down and looked at the documents on the table, stunned. He had originally set aside 2 hours for this meal, but why did it only take him 40 minutes to come back? His efficiency was no less than eating fast food. "It's too fast. How can a date be so fast?" Sandro was embarrassed. "I know you guys shouldn't have gone to a home-cooked restaurant. The food there is too low quality." Brexter was confused. "Isn't that what eating's all about?" "My Chief Judge, that's not true." Sandro was really worried about his leader's happiness. He was hoping that his leader would settle down and start a family soon, not working overtime so desperately that he didn't even have time to spend with his girlfriend. "It's okay for us to go to a home-cooked restaurant for a meal. We can come back and work overtime after eating. When a man and a woman go out for a meal, it's to cultivate their relationship. When the food is too appetizing, they eat very fast. They throw away their bowls and leave. How can they talk to each other? When the lights are dim, they kiss and hold hands, then they say they're going to watch a movie or something. Then they continue to hold hands and kiss." "Shut up." Brexter's cold gaze swept past him as he picked up his teacup. "We just went out for a meal. We didn't have any ulterior motives." "Then maybe I'm overthinking." Faced with the authority of his leader, Sandro immediately gave up, but he still added weakly, "But let me remind you that you won't be able to kiss Miss Kell if you continue to eat this way for the rest of your life." Brexter had just finished a mouthful of tea when he choked on the last sentence. It took him a long time to recover. He turned his face away and looked out of the French window. His cold face was inexplicably warm. He really didn't think too much about it. However, at this moment, when he recalled Kira's sharp red lips, it seemed that it wouldn't be very hard to kiss her and like it. On Monday, when Kira went to the law firm, her colleagues looked at her mysteriously. Caleb came over with a smile. "Miss Kell, you're not buddy enough. We've been partners for so many years. And you didn't even tell us that you were secretly developing a relationship with Chief Judge Williams." Sasha looked at him with admiration. As expected of my boss, she couldn't defeat Chief Judge Williams in court, so she decided to break through emotionally. Kira was speechless. This news was really spreading. "Caleb, please come with me." After closing the office door, Miss Kell turned around. "Caleb, this present case definitely won't be Brexter's." Caleb chuckled. "Ha, I understand. With all the rumors flying around, the court will definitely avoid the two of you." Kira nodded. "This is all because I'm close to Brexter. Court thinks that we have an ambiguous relationship, so they won't allow us to be in the same courtroom for the time being. Actually, we are as simple as clear water. Otherwise, the main judge this time could have been Brexter. He and our law firm's personalities are simply at odds with each other, so..." That's why you decided to sacrifice yourself and use your charm to win him over. Caleb's eyes lit up and gave her a thumbs up. Brilliant, truly brilliant. It's much better than me worshiping the gods in the company. Kira's mouth twitched. Didn't you hear what I said earlier? We're as pure as water. However, I did sacrifice myself for the company. I want to increase my share of this case. Caleb wanted to cry, but he had no tears. Don't be like this. 60-40 split. Kira thought for a moment and said, if I meet with Chief Judge Williams in the court and we never meet again without even greeting each other, we might run into him as the Chief Judge very soon. So the share is really very low. Kiara? Do you think 60-40 split's too little? Do you want a 50-50 split? Kira smiled. Yes, you can. You really know how to steal money. Caleb could not take it anymore. All right, 60-40. Don't worry, it's just this one case. I won't be your assistant for the next case. The money is really too little. Kira sighed and sat on the leather chair. Caleb touched his forehead. Kira, you don't lack money. Why are you always thinking about earning so much money? No matter how much money you have, it can't eliminate the loneliness in your heart. Earning money will make me happy, and it's the only thing I can find joy in now. Kira glanced at him indifferently. If you don't feel happy, then let's split it 50-50. No. Although I don't like money, earning money makes me happy. Caleb waved his hands and quickly left. Kira pursed her lips and turned her chair to look out of the French window. The sun was shining brightly outside, but the smile on her lips inexplicably dimmed. For the next few days, Kira buried herself in preparing for the case. Even on the weekends, she worked overtime in the company. The case this time was mainly about the divorce between the owner of a chain restaurant and her husband. The couple started from scratch and started a successful business together. 10 years ago, the woman slowly retired from the company and returned to the family. The restaurant business was thriving. However, her husband proposed a divorce. Now the couple had opinions on the division of the property. The woman thought that her husband was cheating, but she had never found any evidence. Miss Kell, this case is difficult, Sasha said. The husband's very cunning. He slowly transferred the property 5 years ago. What's so difficult about it? Kira flipped through the information with one hand and rested her other hand on her temple. Our law firm has handled many such cases where heartless husbands abandon their wives and take away their properties and monies. This guy made preparations 5 years ago, so he left more evidence behind. As she was speaking, her phone suddenly rang. When she saw the number, Kira's expression instantly turned serious. Dr. Manager, it's Ella. Ella's condition has worsened recently, Dr. Manager said. Yesterday, while she was sunbathing in the courtyard, she suddenly attacked another patient. When our medical staff tried to pull her away, the staff was injured by her. I'm sorry, Kira said. I'll come over immediately. I'll compensate you. Kira's car stopped at the entrance. Looking at the words Rosewood City's first mental hospital above her head, her mood was indescribably heavy every time she came. The environment of this place was very good. There were many trees and flowers inside. She found the best place for Ella to stay, but she could not hide the fact that this was a place that only mentally ill people would stay at. Could mentally ill people still enjoy the scenery? She really did not know. This was the only thing she could do. As she walked in, she saw Dr. Manager, who was in charge of Ella's condition after registration. I'm sorry to have troubled you, but I heard that Ella's condition had slightly improved a few days ago. That's right. That's why I let her out of the room, hoping she would communicate with others, which would be beneficial for her recovery, Dr. Manager explained. When she was playing with another patient today, she suddenly pushed her to the ground. Her head hit the ground and she was injured and bleeding. Although it wasn't too serious, her behavior was aggressive. After that, we gave her a sedative and locked her in the room. Kira furrowed her brows deeply. There should be a reason for this. Was it because she was provoked from the outside world, or because it just happened suddenly? I've asked the concerned patient about it. She said that she was just chatting with Ella about some new songs that have become very popular recently. Kira's heart skipped a beat. Whose songs were they talking about? Winnie's. Kira had an incomparable headache. Is there a reason? Dr. Manager asked tentatively. I hope that I have a good understanding of the patient's condition. Actually, Ella used to go to the same school as Winnie. She also liked Jeffrey and subconsciously regarded Winnie as her love rival. She even did some bad things, Kira said with a bitter smile. It seems that her illness is not improving. Dr. Manager recorded Kira's words in his notebook. Ella was too narrow-minded and extreme in the past. Maybe even if she gets better, her character may not necessarily improve. Maybe I need to change the treatment method. Oh yes, the patient she injured has some family over. They are quite angry. I understand. I will apologize and compensate her. Please lead the way, Kira replied politely. Dr. Manager nodded and led her to the ward. Room 302. The door was open. Dr. Manager knocked on the door and entered. Mr. Williams, Ella's family's here. Kira followed him in. Then she saw Brexter's tall and handsome figure standing in this 10-square-meter ward. His short black hair was soft and thick, and his eyes were deep and dark. He was wearing a black suit with the buttons unbuttoned casually, and the white shirt underneath was exposed. Some men in black suits looked like they were working in real estate, but he was dressed like a leader, dignified and noble. On the bed behind Brexter was a girl in a white hospital gown. She seemed to be in her early 20s. She had a fair and clear complexion. Her eyes were as innocent as a deer, and there was a bandage on her head. Kira was stunned. Brexter pursed his thin lips and his brows furrowed even more, but obviously he was also surprised. His lips moved slightly and Kira's red lips opened like a cannonball. Chief Judge Williams, I didn't expect to meet you again under such circumstances. This is Anna, right? It seems like you're her family member. I'm really sorry for my sister's actions. Whether it's compensation or an apology, I'm fine with it. Brexter rubbed the space between his brows. When he heard that the patient who injured Anna has surnamed Kell, he had thought of Kira out of nowhere. He did not expect to meet her again here. They're all ill people. Tell me, what can compensation or an apology do? Kira glanced at Anna. She seemed to be in a daze. She even grabbed the corner of Brexter's shirt and said foolishly, Papa wants me to eat cheesecake. Kira gaped. She was shocked, but quickly calmed down. Brexter was only in his early 30s. No matter how hard he tried, it was impossible for him to have a daughter in her 20s. Brexter, on the other hand, was no longer as cold as before. He bent down and gently stroked her hair. All right, I'll go buy some for you later. Kira immediately offered, How about this? I come every week to buy Anna some cheesecake or whatever she likes to eat. Every week? Brexter was a little surprised. Yes, Kira said. After all, I have to bring some food to Ella every week. Even if I don't come, I'll get my assistant to come. Furthermore, to be honest, she felt that patients with mental illness were quite pitiful. A piece of cake was nothing to her. Are you actually willing? Brexter raised an eyebrow. Kira was speechless. A piece of cake is only a few dollars. How stingy am I? At least you shouldn't be too generous, Brexter said honestly. Kira was so angry that she couldn't speak. For the blind date, she had to pay for the juice, and he made her treat him to a meal. What right did he have to say that she was stingy? She couldn't be bothered with him. Kira walked up to Anna and said gently, Anna, Ella didn't mean to hurt you today. I'll buy you cheesecake from now on, okay? Anna raised her head and stared at her with big, confused eyes. Suddenly, she smiled sweetly and hugged her. Mom, you're back to visit me. Me love the cakes that you bought. Don't leave me. Kira's body stiffened. Just as she was about to explain that she was not her mother, Brexter suddenly walked over and said softly, "You must be obedient. Mama will come to visit you whenever she's free." Kira glared at him, but Brexter acted as if he did not hear her and patiently peeled the oranges for Anna. Anna looked at him and then at Kira. Suddenly she held their hands and put them together. "Daddy, Mommy, don't fight anymore. I will definitely be obedient in the future." The childlike innocence and expectant expression in her eyes made Kira feel a sudden ache in her chest. Brexter did not say anything but lowered his head to glance at Kira's hand. Her hand was warm. There was nothing on her fingers. They were clean and delicate. If he used a little more force, he should be able to wrap them up. He stopped his gaze, lowered his head, and held Kira's hand slightly tight. His voice was unique and hoarse. "Yes, Dad will treat Mom well from now on." Kira looked at him strangely. Her hand he was holding was burning hot. She twitched but didn't manage to pull it out. It wasn't until Anna fell asleep that Brexter let go of her hand. Kira opened her mouth, but he interrupted her softly. "Come out and talk. Don't disturb her." Kira followed him out gloomily. Before Brexter could say anything, Dr. Manager patted his chest and said, "It scared me just now. Fortunately, Mr. Williams reacted quickly and admitted that you are her mother." Kira looked over in confusion. Brexter pursed his lips and did not say anything. Dr. Manager looked at his expression and saw that he did not stop him. He then continued, "Anna mainly lacks the love of a father and a mother. She's always imagined that Mr. Williams is her father. She's always treated the female nurse in the hospital as her mother when she's ill. She had also mistaken you for her mother just now. If you deny it, it will trigger her illness and she will become hysterical. She will throw tantrums, smash things, and even hurt herself. We could coax her and let her feel that she is always filled with happiness." Kira then realized that she had initially thought that Brexter was deliberately trying to take advantage of her, but now it seemed like she had been overthinking. "Miss Kell, I still have to see other patients. If you want to see Ella later, you can just go to the door, but you can't go in," Dr. Manager advised before leaving. Suddenly, she and Brexter were the only ones left on the path in the garden. Brexter's gaze fell on her face. He did not really understand women's makeup, but when the sun shone on her face, there were no pores at all. It did not seem like she was wearing heavy makeup, and her lips were not bright either. The faint scent of perfume wafted over, preventing anyone from smelling it. Kira felt his gaze and suddenly recalled the warmth of his hand. She was feeling a little unnatural. "It wasn't intentional just now," Brexter explained first. "I understand now." Kira waved her hand. "Chief Judge Williams, I didn't know she was your—" "She's the daughter of a client." Brexter suddenly turned around and looked at a bamboo tree. "I was a judge in the county and I received a case. It was Anna's parents. One day when she came back from school, she found her parents dead at home. The reason was because her parents had a conflict with a neighbor and the way they were killed was very cruel. She saw that scene with her own eyes. After that, she was shocked. However, because she was the first witness to the murder, she had to bear her grief and testify against the criminal in court. Unfortunately, the lawyer hired by the murderer was very good at sophistry. In addition, the negligence of the police in the country had caused some evidence to be missing. It was originally a criminal case that was set in stone, but in the end, the lawyers scattered all the evidence and successfully let the murderer escape." Kira was stunned, recalling Anna's appearance just now. For some reason, her heart ached. "But, Chief Judge Williams, didn't you say that the judge would only judge based on legal perspective? The murderer hasn't been convicted, yet you're so sure that he's the murderer. That's really not your style." "You're right." Brexter's gaze revealed a rare hint of forbearance.
Anna's parents' case was very obvious. However, it happened 7 years ago when the law wasn't perfect enough at that time. This allowed the lawyers to find loopholes. Now, with the progress of the times, the law is gradually improving. I'm very gratified, but every time it's perfected, there's a loss of justice, and I'm helpless. Kira's heart froze, and she smiled bitterly. Many of her lawyers seem to be good at finding loopholes. Chief Judge Williams, do you actually hate lawyers? Brexter's gaze paused on her for 2 seconds before he said, If there were no lawyers or prosecutors, then there's no need for judges to exist. They all work for the law. There's nothing to hate or dislike. Kira listened to his indifferent and magnanimous words, and suddenly remembered the case she lost a few days ago. She had even secretly scolded him in the toilet, which indeed made her seem narrow-minded. I'm sorry about the last case, Kira sincerely apologized. The incident with Anna had allowed her to see Brexter's soft side. Brexter pursed his lips. What's the point of having the police if an apology works? If you really feel apologetic, then treat me to a meal. Kira almost wanted to pick her ears. Was he shameless? She was merely apologizing out of emotion, but he actually shamelessly climbed and asked her to treat him to a meal. Her emotion just now must be due to her short-circuited brain. Chief Judge Williams, I remember I just treated you the last time, Kira said through gritted teeth. You can't always rely on me to treat you to a meal just because you are renovating your house and you need to save money. Brexter looked at her calmly. I just feel that the word sorry is useless. It can't be treated as a meal. I think it's more practical to eat. I refuse, Kira said without hesitation. To you, the word sorry is very simple. It's just moving your lips. But to me, it's a huge amount of courage. It represents my sincerity, so I definitely won't treat you to a meal again. Brexter's eyebrows were deeply furrowed. Did she think that what he wanted was that meal? Wasn't it just to find an excuse to get to know each other better? Kira was in deep thought. Oh yes. Anna fell ill because the murderer didn't get a sentence after her parents died? Kira changed the topic. Yes. As she didn't agree to that meal, Brexter's eyes darkened. She was initially agitated when she saw her parents' tragic death. At that time, the police suggested that she receive psychological treatment. But because she had to appear in court, she had to recall that painful experience over and over again. In addition, the murderer was released in court. She couldn't accept it. Kira was dejected. If it was her, she would probably be so mad that she would turn rampant. She must have hated you very much. Brexter nodded. She didn't have a chance to hate me. After the case was over, she got sick. Kira felt a strong sense of sadness. Brexter continued. At first, she was in the county's mental hospital, but the conditions there weren't good. After I transferred to Rosewood City, I brought her here as well. After her parents died, she did have relatives, but none of them were willing to accept a person like her who was mentally ill. Kira understood that mental illness was really scary. Sometimes they would even harm others. I can't tell you that you have a kind heart too. You're thinking too much. Brexter didn't seem to like others saying that he had a kind heart. I just feel that this case was handled by me, so I'm responsible. You're not responsible. You were just following the rules. Kira smiled as she looked up at him. You're just kind-hearted. Her eyes were clear and bright. Brexter felt an inexplicable sense of uneasiness from her stare. His ears were also burning. This was the first time he was praised for being kind-hearted. He had seen too many people pointing their noses at him and calling him cold-blooded and heartless, including his most important family members. "Kira, you don't understand me," he said coldly and slowly. "I don't understand, but I do understand a little now. Anyway, I'm going to see my sister. Tell me what Anna likes to eat," Kira said as she waved her hand and walked towards the ward. Brexter was left behind with a complicated expression as he watched her disappear. How could she leave so quickly? She really waved her sleeves and didn't leave a single cloud behind. Kira walked towards the door of Ella's ward. As she was approaching, she saw a middle-aged couple standing guard at the door and peering through the glass window. The middle-aged woman was covering her mouth and crying. Kira stopped walking, and when she was hesitating whether she should go over, her mother, Jesha, had already seen her. Her sad expression had turned into anger. "What did you still come here? Both of you are sisters. If you weren't so cold and heartless, afraid of offending Aaron, Ella wouldn't have become like this." The more Jesha thought about it, the angrier she became. She pushed away her husband's hand, rushed up, and gave her a strong push. Kira was glad she was wearing flats today. She took 2 steps backward and stood firm. However, after so many experiences and so much time, the saddest thing was the criticism from her parents who didn't understand. "Mom, Ella did something wrong. You can blame me for not guiding her properly as her sister, but you can't blame me for such a reason." Jesha's body instantly trembled and her eyes turned red. "What reason?" "I'm telling the truth. Back then, when your sister was pushed into the lake by Jeffrey in the winter, you didn't stand up either. After she was discharged from the hospital, her fever never subsided. If it weren't for you helping her, would she have run away? She had never suffered since she was young. In order to avoid you guys and not dare contact us, she became someone else's mistress in a moment of obsession. Her face was cut by someone, and you only helped her file a lawsuit for compensation. But she was sent to a mental hospital. Look at her now. She's neither human nor a ghost. Even your father and I couldn't recognize her. How could I have given birth to such a heartless daughter like you?" Jesha's voice was very loud, causing many people in the hospital to come out and watch the commotion. Brexter, who was downstairs, was hesitating whether he should leave early when he heard the sound of an argument coming from upstairs. The nurse who had passed by the corridor asked, "Is it the Kell family arguing here again?" "Yeah. Every time they run into each other, they have to argue. They've avoided each other a few times before, but unexpectedly they ran into each other again this time." There's nothing we can do about it. Ella's really serious this time. We can't just inform her family. We have to inform them. Besides, we still need Ella's sister to pay for the new treatment plan." Brexter furrowed his brows and immediately lifted his leg to head upstairs. In the corridor, Kira rubbed her ears and tried her best to remain calm. "Mom, this is a public place and there are patients living here. Can you lower your voice so that you don't disturb others?" "Why? Are you still afraid of losing face?" Jesha scolded and cried. "You're already a shameless person who wants money." Kira's expression changed slightly. Her father, Gordon, looked at her with disappointment. "Kira, how did you become like this? Although our family isn't a wealthy family, with your mother and my stable jobs, we can at least eat well and wear warm clothes. Money isn't as important as family. Can it be exchanged for your sister's health?" Look at the things you did in the lawsuit lately. People outside say that you're robbing money. For money, you don't even have basic morals. As your father, I really feel embarrassed. How did I educate you to be like this?" Kira's heart skipped a beat. A few days ago, she had been scolded so viciously on the internet that she didn't even dare to go online. But it didn't matter. Those people didn't understand her. But her parents, who had raised her single-handedly, how could they think that of her? She only felt a sharp pain in her throat, and tears almost burst out of her eyes. However, pride wouldn't allow her to do that. "Dad, it's fine if others think that about me, but don't you know what kind of person I am?" she asked in a hoarse voice with difficulty. "I used to know, but now I can't understand you," Gordon said with a bitter smile. Jesha spat angrily. "You have a house and a car now. What are you not satisfied with? You like Aaron and cling to the past, but he doesn't like you. In the end, he married a woman younger than you. Look at you. You'll be almost 30 next year, but you're not married yet. When the neighbors ask, I'm too embarrassed to say anything. No matter how rich you are, you can't compare to getting married and having children." "That's enough, Mom. Please keep your mouth shut. When did I cling to Aaron? We've always worked together." Kira was angered by these attacking words, though she had to swallow her anger. "I'm your daughter. Why do you hurt me this way? I know that as a daughter, I'm worthy of my parents. I've never let you eat and wear less than you." "Kira, what your mother said was harsh," Gordon interrupted her. "But we don't care about material things. We want a family in harmony. We have a pension fund, and we don't need your money. I just want you and your sister to be fine, but it's obvious that I didn't educate you well. We as parents are responsible for your sister's plight today, but you're too heartless as an older sister. Don't you feel any regret and guilt at all? Is it scary to offend the Bennett family? I'm very disappointed in you. Very disappointed." Kira smiled bitterly. Her parents would always stand at the highest point of morality and blame others. Jesha continued to say angrily, "Besides, is it wrong to love someone? Your sister is wrong to love the wrong person. Before she went to university, she was quite nice and willing to help others. After all, wasn't Jeffrey responsible at all?" "Stop saying that!" Kira really couldn't take it anymore. She took a deep breath and her eyes gradually became sharp. She took a step closer to Jesha. "What are you doing? Did I say anything wrong?" Jesha couldn't help but take a step back facing her gaze, but she still raised her neck high. "Don't push all the blame on others." Kira's tone gradually turned cold. "If it weren't for your doting on Ella over and over again, would she have become like this? She schemed to destroy other people's relationships. And in the end, she never repented. If she didn't get happiness, she also didn't let others get it. Then she became a mistress. If you ask me, it was because you doted that she became a gold digger and an unreasonable person. You didn't even have a bottom line. I don't know how you became parents." "Shut up!" Gordon slapped her face angrily. "You are an unfilial daughter." Rexter rushed over and pulled Kira behind him. He turned his head and saw 5 red marks on Kira's fair face. His gaze suddenly turned dark. "No matter who you are to Kiera, you don't have the right to hit her." Kira looked at the tall figure who had suddenly blocked her way. Why was he still here? Why was he always around whenever she had an argument with someone? "Who are you?" Gordon was furious. "This is our family's matter. Stay out of it. I'm teaching my daughter a lesson. Get out of my way." Brexter pursed his lips. His gaze was so dark and deep. At this moment, Kira suddenly appeared beside him. "Dad, I've never needed you to teach me a lesson. I've always been upright. I've earned every single cent, fair and square. I've never stolen or robbed. I've also never been a mistress. The only regret I have is that when Ella was studying, I was too busy with my work and didn't spare any time to guide her on how to distinguish right from wrong. This is my only mistake. I'll do what I should do for Ella as her sister. I don't need you to stand on the moral high ground and criticize me. I won't be seeing Ella today. Chief Judge Williams, let's go." After saying that, she grabbed her bag and left without looking back. "Get lost! We don't want a daughter like you. It's so embarrassing!" Jessica cursed as she pointed at her back. Brexter frowned, his lips moving slightly. "I didn't expect Kira to have parents like you two." After that, he turned and followed. Kira walked downstairs quickly. With every step she took, her heart ached. Her eyes were so red that something seemed to be gushing out of them. She resisted the urge to cry. Brexter was following behind her. After walking for nearly 3 minutes, Kira stopped and turned around abruptly. Brexter's long legs followed her closely. He couldn't stop himself in time and his chest hit her nose bridge. Kira's nose and eyes were so sore from the impact that tears started flowing out of her eyes. Brexter was at a loss. It had been a long time since he had seen a woman cry in front of him, especially since Kira's image had always been like a diamond in his heart. He felt that the word cry had nothing to do with her. But now she was really crying. Her dark eyes were glistening with tears, her long eyelashes were stained with water, and her eyes were red and moist. She was indescribably delicate and moving, making him feel the urge to hug her and protect her. "Miss Kell." Brexter's lips were dry and nervous. "If you want to cry, just cry. It's not a pleasant thing to have a fight with your parents." Kira raised her head and stared at him with her big, watery eyes, her throat slightly hoarse. "Chief Judge Williams? Do you know that it was your chest that hit my nose, causing me to cry because of pain?" "Is that so?" Brexter was stunned. "Would it hurt that much if I hit your nose?" "If you don't believe me, I will punch you in the nose right now," Kira said unhappily. Brexter took a step back defensively. No?" She was just joking. She wouldn't dare hit a judge even if she had 10 times the courage to do so. "Forget it. It's fine now." Kira opened her wallet and took out a tissue to wipe the tears on her face. The white tissue made the fingerprints on her face even more obvious. Brexter's sharp eyes narrowed. "Oh yes, I have to thank you no matter what." Kira raised her face. "But don't you hate me? My parents hate me so much." Brexter was silent for a moment before he said, "What a coincidence. My parents hate me too." The air was silent for a while before Kira couldn't help laughing. Her eyes were curved. "Then wouldn't we be the same?" Brexter mumbled. "Yes, it's quite a coincidence. So, do you want to treat me to dinner?" "Here we go again." Kira rolled her eyes. "Chief Judge Williams, how much money do you need for the renovation? Why do you insist on making me buy dinner?" "Once you get into the renovation, it's as deep as the ocean." Did renovation cost so much? Never thought that she hadn't done it before. "I can buy you dinner," Kira said after some consideration. "But we have to have some wine." I don't drink. I prefer the feeling of being sober and calm. Brexter's eyes were filled with conflict. You women shouldn't drink too much. Drinking is harmful to your health. Some problems cannot be solved by drinking. This is an escape from the problem. Kira rolled her eyes. I don't think it's an escape. I just want to vent for the time being. If you don't want to go, then forget it. I'll find someone else. She started to look for her phone in her bag. Brexter thought about who she was going to get a drink with. He was silent for a while before saying, I can go with you, but I don't drink. Then why are you going with me? Kira said in annoyance. I want someone to drink with me. I can drive you back, Brexter replied calmly. Kira was stunned. She suddenly took 2 steps toward him, her beautiful lips curling into a faint smile. Men who drive women back usually have ulterior motives. Chief Judge Williams, what do you want? Do you have a crush on me? Brexter looked at her with a calm and indifferent gaze. Ensuring the safety of citizens is the responsibility of every member of the judiciary. Furthermore, I can understand your feelings. Sometimes, don't care too much about what others say. As long as you have a clear conscience, that's fine. Kira was stunned. She suddenly remembered that she had heard of his past. Did he have the same feelings as her? Tell me, do you think that working in the legal profession, sometimes people think that we are especially cold-blooded and heartless? She asked in a daze. If we file a lawsuit for Ella, we will be scolded by outsiders. If we don't file a lawsuit against her, we will be scolded by our parents. If she's mentally ill and doesn't come to the mental hospital, where else can she go? As for us women, no matter how hard we work, if we don't get married and have children, we will always be criticized by others. All along, Kira had always been fierce in Brexter's impression. Now, Kira, who was standing in front of him, had a momentary flash of frailty in her eyes. Brexter's gaze softened slightly without him realizing. If he hadn't bumped into her today, perhaps he wouldn't have seen the family behind her riddled with holes. Just like him. In this society, when necessary, people need to be cold and heartless. Right? Brexter spoke slowly. You don't have to care too much about your parents' thoughts. Even though I don't understand them, from what I heard just now, I felt that they were very pedantic and self-righteous. In this new era, there are people who don't want to get married. They prefer to live alone. Those who look down on you are usually incompetent. Some people think that if they get married, they will be able to live with their reputation. But if they close their doors, they will be more embarrassed than anyone else. In our industry, aren't we often faced with the most unbearable people? Kira was stunned, but after thinking about it, it made sense. She didn't know how many couples had filed suit. There were ordinary people and celebrities. Yes, thank you, Chief Judge Williams. Kira smiled sweetly at him. She was truly grateful to him. She didn't expect him, who had always been cold and mean, to say such words. Her smile was too dazzling. Brexter turned his face away unnaturally and said, By the way, I didn't know you had a crush on Aaron Bennett. Kira felt as if someone had stepped on her tail. She said awkwardly, That was a long time ago. When I was in university, wasn't he a senior? I was young and ignorant, only saw the good in him. Brexter looked at her meaningfully. No wonder you haven't married off. Your taste is excellent. Kira, who was feeling grateful just a moment ago, felt as though she had heard a thick layer of sarcasm and dissatisfaction. How am I excellent? CEO Bennett is handsome and capable. His grades are good. He's tall and strong. His character isn't that bad. It's normal for women to fall in love with him. Is that so? He's also mean, narcissistic, and arrogant. Brexter didn't agree with her taste. To be honest, when he was in high school, he thought that people like Aaron Bennett would only fall in love with themselves. Kira answered angrily, I thought he was your friend. Are you saying bad things about your friend behind his back? I think even if he knows, he won't think it's a bad thing to be like that. Besides, I've said it in front of him before. Brexter felt her anger and was unhappy. It seems like you still have feelings for him. You're so riled up just because I said a few words about him. Don't forget, he has a family now. He even has a child. I'm not trying to destroy his family. Kiara glared at him. Yes, she did like Aaron, but that was a long time ago. After getting to know him better, she was impressed by April. She really had to tolerate such a man so that she wouldn't be angered to death at any time. She had to be magnanimous. It's good that you know that, Brexter nodded and said. As for the handsome and capable man, the good academic results, the tall figure, the good skills, and the good character, there are such men everywhere. Just like the man standing in front of her. Back then, his grades were even better than Aaron's. It was just hard for her to say it out loud. Yes, you're absolutely right, Kira nodded. She felt that she had met an old catter, but she didn't want to discuss with him the embarrassing topic of having a crush on Aaron. Anyway, thank you so much for today. I'm going to have dinner with my friend. Brexter frowned. I just asked if I can go to dinner with you. How did you? But you didn't say that you would drink with me. I want to have a drink with a friend. Goodbye, Chief Judge Williams, Kira said as she walked towards the parking lot. Brexter wanted to get to his car, too. He was on the same road as her, and he heard her call her friend. Ari, come out for a drink or two. It's my treat. If we're sisters, come out. I'm really not in a good mood. Kira and Ariana agreed on a time and a place and opened the car door. Just as she was about to get into the car, she suddenly realized that Brexter had not left yet. He was standing beside her, looking at her. Is there anything else? Kira asked politely. Why did she feel that Brexter's expression seemed to say, I want to go for a meal? How luxurious was his house. Even a judge was so short of money that he wanted to freeload. I'm just reminding you not to drive after drinking, Brexter said solemnly. Even if you're not responsible for yourself, you have to be responsible for the public. Thank you for your kind reminder. Don't worry, I will return home and leave the car before going out to dinner. Kira felt that the gratitude she had felt for him earlier was slowly fading away. What was he talking about? He was purely concerned about the safety of the public? After all, though they weren't friends, they were in the same boat. He didn't care about her life and death at all. He was too cold. He opened the door and got into his car. At the same time, Kiara drove off. Brexter watched as Kiara's car drove off into the distance. He frowned in confusion. She was fine just a moment ago, but why did she suddenly change her mood? Women were really strange animals. He looked at the time. It was still early. It was only slightly past 4 o'clock. It was better to return to the office. At the court, Sandro saw that he had returned and immediately went over with the document. Chief Judge, I need you to sign this. I want to send it to the executive office. Brexter looked over the document carefully, then quickly signed his name with a pen. Sandro was about to leave when Brexter suddenly called out to him. Do you know about Kiara and her sister? Sandro's eyes lit up. He had been with him for many years, and this was the first time he had heard his boss ask about a woman. Chief Judge, you and Miss Kell. Get to the point. Brexter coughed lightly. I went to the mental hospital to visit Anna today, but I didn't expect Kiara to visit her sister as well. This is fate. Sandro felt that the spring had definitely arrived for his boss. However, I only have a slight impression. I saw the news online. It seems that her sister was the mistress of some rich businessman, and the rich businessman's wife found out about it. The other party was also a shrew, and she immediately brought people to look for her sister, causing her face to be disfigured. The rich businessman was scared away, and after that, Miss Kell filed a lawsuit against her sister demanding compensation. That incident was blown up by the rich businessman's wife, and the people outside were of the view that Miss Kell was shameless to file a lawsuit for the mistress. They even trolled her for being a mistress, and she also had a bad reputation after the incident. Brexter suddenly understood. No wonder so many people had called her a mistress a few days ago. He didn't investigate further then. Cyber violence is getting more and more serious now, Brexter said in an extremely cold tone. Yes. Sandro observed his expression. By the way, did you know that Kiera and you both graduated from Rosewood City University of Law and Politics? Brexter looked back at him expressionlessly. Didn't she study abroad? Brexter thought she did her advanced studies from somewhere else. He didn't think that she was talking about his own university. Sandro quickly reported the news that he had captured recently. She studied at Rosewood University of Law and Politics for 2 years before she was sent overseas to further her studies. What a pity. At that time, if she hadn't left, or if you hadn't graduated, you and Miss Kell might have met on campus and had a campus relationship together. Brexter's lips twitched. His secretary was agile in handling matters, but the only bad thing was that his thoughts were always unrealistic. I never dated in university, which would delay my studies. Furthermore, there were only a few successful relationships at the university. It was a waste of life. Sandro resisted silently in his heart. He had dated a few times and had wasted a lot of his life. Go and deliver the documents, Brexter said calmly. Sandro walked to the door and looked at his proud back. He turned back and said, Chief Judge, do you still remember the invitation sent by Rosewood City University of Law and Politics a few days ago? The university has invited you to attend the university's 30th anniversary celebration next Monday and to speak on stage. Didn't I reject it? Brexter asked coldly. But I heard that this celebration is especially grand. In the past, students who graduated successfully were all invited, Sandro said softly. Miss Kell was sent overseas with excellent results back then. Now that she's doing well in the legal world, she might even go. Brexter's hand that was holding the pen suddenly stopped. A few seconds later, he turned back with a cold expression. Then go ahead. Actually, there's nothing wrong with attending this kind of speech. Perhaps it will allow more students to choose the path of the court in the future. Sandro looked at his serious face and almost died from laughter in his heart. Leader, you're really done for this time. All right, I'll contact the school later. At the steakhouse bar. In the small private room, Kiera and Ariana drank 2 bottles of wine in a row. Ariana drank until her face was completely red. Let me tell you, don't listen to your parents' nonsense. Don't get married just for the sake of getting married. Even people like me who get married for love actually turn out to be just like this after getting married. They used to love each other desperately, but after getting married, they have to take care of the needs of their daily lives and children. Look at me. I'm so tired. I just want to go out and indulge myself. Kiera's slightly tipsy eyes revealed a look of confusion. Some people said that marriage was the tomb of love. Some people said that marriage was a wall that trapped people after they entered. Ari, then based on what you said, should I not get married? Kiera was at a loss. That's not true. It has its own happiness. For example, children are quite cute. Ariana held her chin. But there's no need to marry just because others say so. At the very least, you have to meet someone who treats you sincerely. You both have the same aspirations and hobbies. Don't be anxious." Kira nodded, flipping through the barbecue on the shelf. Her phone suddenly vibrated. Brexter had actually sent her a message. She opened it in confusion, her face turning green. Brexter had somehow found some news to repost, for example. What happens when a woman comes home drunk? A woman can't drink too much outside, the husband can drink more. A woman is dragged into the bushes after getting drunk in the middle of the night. Ariana saw that her expression was getting uglier and uglier. She couldn't help asking, "What's wrong? Who sent you the message?" "A lunatic." Kira wanted to cry, but no tears came out. She called Brexter, who she had contacted on the blind date. "Why did you send those things?" "I saw the news during dinner, so I sent them to you." Brexter's calm voice was transmitted through the microphone, sounding very nice, like the sound of a cello. However, Kira was not in the mood to appreciate his voice. She gritted her teeth. "Are you sick? How can you see so many cases of women getting drunk and getting into accidents during dinner? This shows that the probability of women getting drunk is really high. You can ignore it, but this is a friendly reminder," Brexter said. "I'm going to eat now. I'm hanging up." The phone hung up with a beep. Kira angrily placed her phone on the table. "Who is it?" "What did they send to you that made you so angry?" Ariana was confused. "Let me take a look." Kira was too lazy to say anything and directly threw her phone at her. Ariana looked at it for a while and silently put down her phone. "Let's finish this bottle and not drink anymore. I'm sick of watching it." Kira thought to herself and felt the same. "By the way, does this person like you?" Ariana suddenly asked. Kira choked on her wine and coughed a few times. She glared at her. "Don't talk nonsense." "I think he really likes you," Ariana declared. "He sent these to tell you to not get drunk. It's obvious that he looked for this news. Look, the date of the news is the year before last." Kira looked as if she had seen a ghost. "He definitely cares about you, but he might not know how to use sweet words." Ariana was really worried about her EQ. "Can't you feel it at all?" Kira shook her head in confusion. For a few seconds, she had thought that Brexter might be interested in her, but she was immediately dispelled by his expressionless face and harsh words. "Is this how it is when you like someone? If you like me, you should at least be passionate. When you have nothing to do, you would send me roses and treat me to a meal or a movie date instead of always thinking of asking me to treat you to a meal." Ariana wanted to laugh, but it was true. You could only be straightforward with someone like Kiera. If you weren't, she might not understand the men's twists and turns in a relationship. Speaking of which, who is Brexter? Is he handsome? Is he rich? Is he capable? Is he someone with potential? Is he a good person? If he doesn't have any of these, just pretend like you don't know. Brexter, the one I've told you about, the one who's always up to no good whenever the law firm meets him in court. Ariana's mouth widened in shock. "I've seen him in the court from afar before. Ah, he has good looks. You're really lucky." Kira's face turned black. "What do you mean? I also have good looks and money. I'm not inferior to him." "So it's still considered a good match. However, you've cursed him for being impotent after marriage, being cheated on by his wife." Kira picked up a piece of meat to block her mouth. "Ugh, so what if he likes me? I don't have feelings for him. He's too cold and stingy. It's hard to explain. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Are you going to the school's anniversary celebration next week? Ariana rolled her eyes. I wasn't considered a top student at that time, and now I haven't brought glory to the school. The school didn't invite me, so what am I going to do? You want to go? You can be my plus one. Kira stared at her with her moving eyes. You know that I left after 2 years of school. Other than you, I barely had any contact with my former classmates. You're more familiar with them, so I won't feel awkward. Moreover, I feel that I will definitely meet people who are full of malice when I attend such an occasion where old classmates meet. After all, I was the belle of the department at that time, and I took out a place to study abroad. At that time, many people were so jealous that they wanted to eat me up. Ariana sighed helplessly. All right, since you've begged me so much, I'll agree to it. But then again, I don't know if Brexter will go. You've forgotten that he graduated from the University of Law and Politics, and he left with the best ranking in the school. He's probably the fastest rising among the younger generation, so the school will definitely invite him. Kira was stunned. She felt like she would run into Brexter wherever she went these days. But he might not go, Ariana suddenly said. I heard that he had been invited to the school's anniversary celebrations in the past, but he rejected all of them. He doesn't seem to like attending these events. Kira nodded. It didn't really matter if she ran into him or not. But now that she knew he might like her, it felt weird.
On Monday, the 30th anniversary of the University of Law and Politics was celebrated. After Kiara picked up Ariana, she drove to the school. After returning back to the country, other than visiting her former professors during the new year, she rarely came over. Today, the school was filled with joy. At the entrance, the history of the University of Law and Politics for the past 30 years was displayed. Brexter's photo appeared on one of the promotional leaflets. It was written on the leaflet about his outstanding achievements, being the youngest chief judge after graduating from the University of Law and Politics. In the leaflet, he was wearing a black academic uniform and a cap. This was the Brexter from when he was still in school. After that, his facial features were distinct, and he had a shy and clean smile on his face. It was less fierce, more sunny, and his gaze was less unfathomable. However, one had to admit that Brexter had been handsome ever since he was in university. The current Brexter was more like a treasured blade that had been sharpened after being unsheathed. He was not as dazzling, but he was more reserved and resolute. No one knew what had changed him so much after he graduated. Tisk, tisk. This is what Brexter looked like when he was young. He's so handsome. Ariana looked at his youthful face and praised him endlessly. If I had been in the same period as him back then, I would have definitely pursued him. Come on, Kiara laughed. Maybe he already had a girlfriend in university. It would not be your turn. That might not be the case. I know people like Chief Judge Williams would only know how to cram themselves into their textbooks during their university days. Kira thought about Brexter's image and actually felt that Ariana's words weren't without reason. Walking to the arena outside the stadium, Kira saw Professor Cedric, who had taught her before, standing outside and joking with another teacher. Professor Cedric, long time no see. Kira quickly went up to greet her politely. How are you feeling? I plan to retire next year. I'm not as well as I used to be. Professor Cedric smiled and shook her hand. Kiara, you've been quite famous recently. Yes, my daughter even showed me your video last time. But don't be discouraged. Being a lawyer is always full of disputes. I believe that you'll soon make a comeback. Don't worry, I'm fine. Kira smiled and looked at the other professor beside Professor Cedric. She felt that he looked familiar. Don't remember him? He's Professor Haida from the next class, Professor Cedric said enviously. He is really good. He has been teaching for so many years. He has taught quite a few outstanding students in the past 30 years at the University of Law and Politics. Kiera was curious. Is that so? Which are the ones? I went abroad early, so I'm not too sure. You know about one. You often go to the court? You should know Brexter, right? He was once his student, Professor Cedric said enviously. Why haven't I met such an outstanding student like Brexter? A 30-year-old presiding judge. How rare. Kiera was stunned and complained in her heart. She was wondering who had taught such a monster. So it was Professor Haida. Professor, don't say that, Ariana said with a smile. Kiera may not be as powerful as Brexter, but she is a woman. She might be able to kidnap Brexter. When the time comes, let Kiera bring Brexter to you and call you Professor obediently. It will show how capable you are. Professor Cedric did not say anything but looked behind them with a strange expression. Kiera was about to roll her eyes at Ariana when a familiar deep male voice suddenly came from behind. Are you sure she's capable? This familiar voice. Kiera's body stiffened and she slowly turned around. When she saw Brexter's expressionless face, she suddenly had the urge to kick Ariana to death. She really regretted bringing her here. Ariana forced out a stiff smile. Chief Judge Williams. I think she definitely doesn't have the ability, Ariana said dryly. Facing this cold and handsome face, Ariana suddenly understood why Kiera couldn't see that he liked her. She was starting to doubt herself now. Perhaps she was overthinking? Brexter didn't look at Ariana and acted as though he didn't hear what she had said. He just stared at Kiera without blinking. You were not able to become an outstanding talent in the academy, but to think you can get me by relying on your single status, you are indeed quite resourceful. You are indeed Advocate Kell. Kiera was speechless. This was clearly not what she said. Why did he have to blame her? Chief Judge Williams, you've misunderstood. I didn't say what you said just now. It was my friend who said it. She's too arrogant. She doesn't understand that a belle like you is not someone I can defile and pluck. Brexter stared at her for a few seconds, not saying a word. It was Professor Haida who cleared his throat to smooth things over. Don't mind it. The two students were just joking. Brexter, it's rare for you to have the time to come here. I heard from the principal that you rejected him. I thought you wouldn't come. Thinking about it carefully, this is the 30th anniversary after all. It's different from previous years. Brexter turned his face away and explained calmly. I was a student here after all, thanks to the hard work of the teachers and professors, which has enabled me to get to where I am today. Good boy. If you think that way, I think it's worth it to be a teacher for the rest of my life, Professor Haida said with a smile. Oh yes, Brexter, are you married? You must be in your early 30s. Not yet. Professor Haida laughed heartily. Ha ha. Speaking of which, there are quite a few alumni here tonight. They definitely aren't married yet. Take the opportunity to understand each other. Maybe it can solve the problem of a girlfriend. Professor Cedric, who was on the side, quickly whispered to Kiera, You can do your best too. Try to solve your problem of being single. Professor Cedric, why were you echoing Professor Haida's words? Did you really want me to settle with Brexter? Brexter looked at Kiera calmly. His gaze was indifferent. Advocate Kell? It looks like we have to work hard together. Who would want to work hard together with you? Kiera didn't even want to think about her male classmates from that episode. They seemed to be a bunch of crooks. Just as Kiera was feeling particularly speechless, Ariana suddenly greeted downstairs with a strange expression. Eric, you're here too. Kiera looked over. The man was wearing jeans and a navy corduroy jacket. He was dressed very elegantly, and his facial features were considered decent. However, there was a greasy feeling about him, especially when there was a Porsche key hanging from his waist. It was as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know that he was driving a Porsche. Eric spotted Kiera at a glance. He greeted Ariana and Professor Cedric with a smile, then looked at Kiera with a smile. "Miss Beautiful, long time no see. You're still as gorgeous as before. Oh yes, have you found a boyfriend yet?" Kiera instantly remembered who this person was. Back when she was in university, there was always a very greasy-looking man who kept pestering her. Even when he was rejected, he would still pester her. At that time, she felt annoyed, but she didn't expect that after so many years, this Eric was still as oily as ever. Brexter glanced at this man without batting an eyelid, whose entire body reeked of the stench of money. Of course, Kiera wasn't the only one who thought so in the auditorium. Soon it was time for the speech. Brexter walked on the stage and stood behind the podium. Brexter's handsome figure appeared on the screen behind him, and many people started whispering, "Who is he? He's so handsome." Brexter, the youngest and most promising chief judge of the University of Legal Affairs. "I'm surprised that you actually didn't know him." "I just didn't know he was so handsome. I thought he was a bald old man. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have pursued any other boys. I would have pursued him instead." "I can't take it anymore. We're both law students, but he's so handsome." Kiera heard the discussion and was a little impressed by her aunt. She could even bring such a person out to accompany her on a blind date. On the stage, Brexter shifted the microphone and his cold but magnetic voice started to spread to every corner.
"When dealing with the words of a bad person, one should not be blinded by bias or prejudice. One should listen and analyze patiently and carefully. One should not let loose head and rationality. This is the objective duty of a judiciary."
Kiera could not help but listen attentively. It was not that she had never talked about law with Brexter before, but this was the first time she was impressed by his research and attainments in law. Listening to his speech, she benefited greatly. He was indeed a capable legal practitioner. She admired him. Ariana cupped her face, a look of infatuation on her face. "Oh, I can't take it anymore. Dr. Williams has not only a handsome face, but a mesmerizing voice as well. I can't imagine how seductive he is in bed." The girl was thinking of him in bed by just listening to his speech. That was amazing. "You're a law student after all. Can't you focus on the content of a speech? What are you talking about?" Kiera scolded. "I'm thinking he's such an outstanding man. Don't you want to ask him out?" Ariana whispered into her ear. "Listen to the speech," Kiera reminded her. Brexter spoke for more than 10 minutes. In conclusion, he said,
"No matter how difficult the future is, I will always be proud of my profession. No matter whether you choose to be a judge, prosecutor, or lawyer in the future, I hope you will remember that boundary in your hearts and respect the law."
After he finished speaking, he bowed. The entire speech was completely off script. Thunderous applause rang out from the audience. Everyone was excited, and Kiera was no exception. At that moment, he was so dazzling in her eyes, and her palms hurt from clapping. Brexter took a seat, his gaze shifting to Kiera. When he saw her clapping, the corners of his lips curled up. Brexter loosened his tie and sat down. Beside him was Nathan, a senior schoolmate who had graduated from school a long time ago. He was currently the prosecutor, and he had specially come for the school's anniversary celebration.
"Brexter, come to the bar with us tonight," Nathan offered. "It's a rare occasion for everyone to get together. Afterward, we'll have dinner together."
Brexter wasn't interested in it, but he asked, "Who will go?" "Quite a few. Many of the old alumni today will be there." Nathan smiled and continued, "We're all in the same circle after all. Even though we're from different cities, it's a good opportunity to interact with each other. For dinner, it'll just be us who work in the office. I've booked a private room in a nearby restaurant. As for the bar, there'll be a lot of people coming, and it'll be lively. Many of the old alumni who came this year are still single." "So, this is a blind date in disguise," Brexter frowned. "I was just giving you a hint," Nathan laughed. "Most people are already married. Some even have children in kindergarten. Single women of our age, they might have divorced. Really, it's not easy to see each other. Who knows if we'll be here for the 80th anniversary. Brexter fell silent. Nathan thought he had agreed and immediately sent a message to inform his old schoolmates in the group. After the anniversary celebration, the school leaders invited them to have a meal. Kiara was not invited. After all, she was a young advocate and was not qualified. "That guy must be the legendary Rochester of the University of Law and Order. He's 60 years old this year and hasn't lost a case in 20 years. The class monitor Samuel said as she looked at the old man beside the principal. "I wonder when we'll be able to become lawyers of his level. It's said that last year a wealthy family offered him $300 million, but he declined." "I hope that day will come," Kiara said with a sigh. "But Rochester has a lecture this afternoon, so we can go and listen." "Let's go and grab a bite at the canteen. It's been a long time since the last time I had a meal in the school," Samuel said with a smile. "It's on me." "Okay, the supper's on me," Gabriel, another successful alumnus of the same year, said with a smile. "Are there any good and high-class restaurants nearby?" Ariana thought for a moment and said, "The restaurant next door? That's not bad. My hubby and I have gone there quite a few times. The private chambers are quite comfortable, but we have to book them. Its business is very good." Gabriel immediately asked Ariana for a phone number to book a private chamber. In the afternoon, they ate in the canteen until 2:30 p.m. Then they attended Rochester's lecture. At around 5 p.m., they drove to the restaurant. Just as Ariana said, the restaurant was indeed not bad. The private chamber was spacious with more than 10 people sitting in it. They chatted and drank happily. Ariana lowered her head and said to Kiara, "I have to go home and take care of my baby, so I won't go to the club with you guys." Kiara glared at her and said in a low voice, "How can you desert me at the last minute? You said you'd go with us and dance to your heart's content." "I can't help it. Just now, my mother-in-law called me and said that the baby has been crying and looking for me. Having a baby is such a sweet burden." Ariana sighed. "You should work harder tonight. There are many single and handsome men tonight." "Enough. Are those men as good-looking as I am?" At this moment, someone came back from the washing room and said, "Fuck, guys! Nathan and Brexter and some other big shots are having dinner in the private chamber next door. Should we go and have a drink with them?" Carter recalled Brexter's face and frowned. "Why should we go? We're not doing badly. Why should we go and have a drink with them?" "But they saw me just now," the guy said awkwardly. "It doesn't look good if we don't go. I think they'll come over later to have a drink with us." "Then let's go." Samuel stood up with a glass of wine in her hand. Somewhere else in the restaurant, Brexter's face was cold as he watched people at the dining table toasting and kissing each other. He was a little fed up with such occasions. The woman opposite him stood up shyly. "Senior Williams, I'd like to have a drink with you. I heard about you long ago, but it's a pity that I didn't have the chance to meet you until today." The woman was a rather sweet-looking type, and when she smiled, no one seemed to be able to resist her. Brexter raised his head, his bottomless eyes causing the woman's heart to skip a beat. A moment later, Brexter raised his teacup and sipped. The woman was stunned. Jason smiled and said, "Brexter, it's fine that you drink tea while we have wine, but you can't do it with Tanya. She's the only single female in this room." The meaning of his words was obvious. Tanya blushed shyly and said with a smile, "That's right, Senior Williams. You should have wine with me." Brexter's cold gaze swept across her.
"I remember saying before that I cannot drive after drinking wine. Everyone here studies law. Do I have to remind you guys of the punishments for drunk driving?"
Tanya's face stiffened as she replied awkwardly, "Of course I remember. Can't you get a designated driver?"
"I don't like to get a designated driver. I have to pay for a designated driver,"
Brexter said expressionlessly. The private chamber was eerily quiet for a moment before Nathan laughed out loud.
"Brexter, don't joke around. I remember your family was well off when we were in school. Your father owns a company, right?" "I really don't have any money," Brexter said indifferently. "I've thought about it. There's no monetary gift for my future wife, and she needs to have an apartment for us to live in. We won't have a wedding in a 5-star hotel. A 3-star hotel is good enough for us. There will be no honeymoon, and I won't give her my paycheck every month. On the contrary, I'll be in charge of the family's income, and she has to give me her paycheck every month."
The room fell silent again. Tanya looked at his cold and handsome face and was completely speechless. She really admired his talent and liked his face. When he went on the stage to give the speech today, her heart was pounding with excitement. However, no one wanted to be treated like this after marriage. No woman would be so stupid as to accept such conditions.
"Senior Williams, you're kidding me." Tanya forced out a smile. "I'm not kidding you."
Brexter picked up a piece of cucumber and ate it. Seeing that everyone was silent, he put down his chopsticks.
"Why is no one talking? If you're bored, we can recite the criminal law and see how familiar everyone is with the law."
What kind of devil was Brexter? Everyone looked as if they had eaten shit. Soon Kira and the others were brought over.
"Seniors, what a coincidence. I didn't expect we'd have dinner in the same restaurant. Come, let's toast everyone."
Nathan and the others stood up in relief, so happy to see the young alumni.
"George, you little brat. Why didn't you tell us that you'd have dinner here tonight? If we'd known, we'd have invited you guys to join us. Look, there's so many beautiful women among you."
Jason patted George's shoulder as if they were good buddies. George was flattered. He and Jason had only sat together in the morning and chatted for a while. They were not that close.
"Yeah, I didn't expect it either."
George returned to his senses and smiled.
"It's fate, right? By the way, we're going to the club after dinner. Do you guys want to go together?"
Kara, who was standing in the back, was stunned. Brexter wouldn't be going too, right? As conservative as he was, he wouldn't be going. And this bunch of seniors might not join them either. George had the same thought, and he had just been polite by asking. But to their surprise, Jason agreed.
"Sure, the more the better. Have you guys booked a table?" Not yet." "We'll do it. I'll call and book it."
Jason looked at the others.
"What do you guys think?" It's good. Nathan nodded hurriedly. "We're all alumni. Fate has brought us together tonight."
He paused, suddenly remembering that a difficult person was sitting at the table tonight. So he looked at Brexter.
"Brex, you don't have any objections, right?"
"No," Brexter replied calmly. The others were shocked. They had thought that he would object, or that he wouldn't go with them. But they hadn't expected him to agree.
"If that's the case, then inform us when you're ready to go," George said. "We're going back to our room. Enjoy your meal." "No problem. Have a good meal."
After George and the rest left, Nathan whispered into Brexter's ears.
"I remember that you didn't like to participate in recreational activities. We might even drink later. If you don't like it, you can leave after dinner." "I'll go with you. It's rare for everyone to get together. Don't spoil the fun because of me," Brexter said as he stroked his teacup.
Nathan was speechless. The person who had been spoiling the fun actually told him not to spoil the fun. Was there any justice in this world? At this moment, Cole, another single guy in the room, said,
"Did you guys see the pretty girls in the neighboring room? Guys, please help me get her girlfriend when we're in the club tonight."
Jason smiled.
I only saw one pretty girl. She's a quite famous lawyer.
You're talking about Kiera, right? Tanya said. She doesn't seem to have a boyfriend. Maybe you'll have a chance. Rexter, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said,
A prosecutor with a lawyer? That's not very good. They're like sworn enemies in the court. Besides, you don't live in Rosewood City. Will it work?
Cole felt a bucket of cold water being poured over him. Nathan coughed lightly.
That's hard to say. Perhaps she likes Cole's type. Nothing can stand between them if they're fated to be together. All right. They came here to propose a toast to us. As seniors, we should send a representative over to return the favor.
Jason gave Cole a signal with his eyes. Just as he was about to get up, Rexter suddenly stood up.
I'll go. Everyone looked at him strangely. As a senior, I want to test the junior's knowledge in criminal law.
Rexter went out of the room with his teacup.
Jason said, I pity the juniors.
Nathan rolled his eyes at him.
Are you stupid? Can't you see that he's acting strangely?
Everyone was stunned and understood instantly. Cole cried,
Don't tell me Brexter likes the same woman as I do.
Everyone was silent. Poor Kiera. Tanya's face went stiff and almost couldn't maintain the smile. Kiera was chatting with Samuel when Carter suddenly stood up from the opposite side and said mischievously,
Miss Kell, since you don't have a boyfriend and I don't have a girlfriend, can you give me a chance? Don't worry, I have nothing but money.
Kiera looked at Carter's oily face and lost her appetite. Brexter, who had just walked in, heard Carter's voice and his face turned cold. Wasn't this guy the red wine seller he had met at the auditorium entrance? He had seen all sorts of people in court, but he had never seen a person as disgusting as Carter. He walked toward Kiera with a cold face. She didn't stand up, just lounging lazily on the chair. Her white sweater outlined her exquisite curves, and her slender white fingers turned the red wine glass in her hand. She curled her red lips into a smile. I'm sorry, but I'm good at nothing but making money. Money really can't move me. She said those words to Carter because she didn't want to insult him in the presence of so many classmates. Moreover, she felt that it was not wise to offend a despicable person like Carter.
Carter did not understand. He laughed shamelessly and asked, Isn't that right? We're both good at making money. We're a perfect match.
Although the people at the table were smiling, some of them thought that Carter was going too far. Kiera's eyes turned cold, but the smile on her face deepened. Unfortunately, I just want to find someone who's good-looking and at least 1.85 meters tall. When I go home, he will bring me tea and massage my shoulders. If I want him to go east, he won't dare to go west. If I want him to go west, he won't dare to go east. After we marry, I can be outside as late as possible and he won't dare to say a word, even if I have a one-night stand or something. I decide when to have a child. Even if I decide not to have a child, he can't object. Oh, right, our children will take my surname, and he can't cheat on me and will love only me. Besides, he must give me all his income. Hearing her words, a smile appeared on everyone's eyes. Kiera's tongue was as sharp as ever. Rexter stopped his steps. He looked at Kiera's profile with admiration in his eyes, surprised that she'd used such harsh conditions to scare her suitors away, just as he had done. Could this be a tacit understanding between them? However, there were always some people who didn't know what was good for them. Carter's expression darkened and his tone became unfriendly.
Kiera, don't joke around. No man would dare to accept you with such conditions.
Kiera continued with a smile on her lips. You don't even meet the first requirement. I'm talking about good looks. Everyone laughed. Carter tightened his grip on his wine glass, his eyes burning with humiliation.
Everyone has their own criteria for choosing a spouse. Just because you're good at selling wine, do you think you can force others to choose you?
Brexter's cold voice came from behind them. The people who had been watching the show finally noticed Brexter's presence. "Senior Williams!" Samuel immediately stood up, feeling flattered. "They sent me over to have a drink with you guys." Brexter raised his glass and said, "Everyone, work hard and strive to become outstanding judges, prosecutors, and lawyers." "Thank you, Senior Williams, for your encouragement." Everyone stood up in a pleasant surprise. Kira had no choice but to stand up as well. Brexter was standing right between her and Ariana. His body leaned slightly towards her, and she felt hot in the air-conditioned room due to the warmth from his body. Kira raised her head to look at him, just in time to see him swallow the content from his cup. His Adam's apple moved sexily. She felt inexplicably hot. Kira wondered if her sweater was too thick, but Brexter was really handsome. Even though she had seen many handsome men like Aaron and Richard, she had found Brexter, unlike others, was more handsome each time she saw him. While everyone was pleasantly surprised by Brexter's arrival, Carter's ugly face had turned red. "What's wrong with me selling wine? Don't you guys drink wine? Oh, right. Why aren't you drinking wine? Why is he holding a teacup?" George glared at Carter with a sullen face, regretting inviting him to the dinner. Judge Williams was giving them an honor by personally coming over and drinking with them. Brexter placed the teacup under his nose and took a sniff. He then curled his lips slightly, his dark eyes revealing a hint of sarcasm. "No matter if I'm drinking tea or wine, at least I'm drinking it with decency." "What do you mean?" Carter widened his eyes. His neck and face flushed red. He had been a boss for so many years and got used to people flattering him. So what if he was a judge? Was a judge richer than him? "Carter, you've drunk too much." George stood up and warned him. "If you're drunk, you can go home." Samuel was disgusted as well. Seeing the disapproval on everyone's face, Carter was smart enough to know that no one was going to help him. He calmed down and smiled shamelessly. "I'm not drunk. I was just joking with Senior Williams." Brexter shook his head and looked down at Kira. "I feel sorry for you being courted by such a person." He turned and left. Kira gaped, speechless. It was fine that he felt sorry for her, but why did he have to say it in front of everyone? However, the others didn't think so and looked at her with envy. "Kira, do you know Senior Williams?" "Of course I do." Kira sighed and said jokingly, "We met a few times in court and he even warned me many times in court. So we left a deep impression on each other." "Oh, I see." They understood. Ariana whispered into Kira's ears, "You'll do well if you want to be an actress." "Thank you for your compliment." After Brexter returned to their room, Nathan jokingly asked, "Brexter, you stayed in the room for quite a while. Were you stalled by some beauty?" "I got stalled by the wine cellar." Brexter put down his teacup, his tone heavy. Everyone felt an inexplicable sense of heaviness, as though they were not in a restaurant but in a courtroom. Because of this atmosphere, everyone ate even faster. At 7:40 p.m., the two groups of people paid the bills and gathered at the entrance of the restaurant. Since they had taken the alcohol, they could not drive, so they decided to split up to take cabs. "I didn't drink," Brexter suddenly said. "There's still room for 4 more people in my car. Under such circumstances, ladies first." The problem was that there were more than 4 ladies among them. Brexter looked at Nathan, extremely agitated by his gaze. Nathan quickly pointed at the juniors, including Kiara, and said, "You girls go and sit in Brexter's car." Kiara was surprised. Are you sure? There are others among us." Nathan revealed a sincere smile. "But you're our juniors. Your seniors will take cabs with us." "Thank you, senior." Kiara nodded. She felt that Nathan was very considerate. It was a pity that he was already married. Noticing that Kiara's gaze lingered on Nathan for 2 seconds, Brexter looked at him as well, but his gaze was a little colder than before. Nathan felt chilled for some reason. Why did it feel like winter on this crisp autumn day? Ariana had gone home, so Kiera stood with Samuel by the roadside and waited for Brexter's car. 3 minutes later, Brexter drove the car over. It was a black Audi A6, looking sparkling clean. The four women hesitated for a moment as to who would sit in the front passenger seat. Colleen said, "Class rep, you sit in the front. Although I think Senior Williams is very handsome, I'm inexplicably awed by him." Samuel nodded. At that moment, the car window slid down and Brexter looked at them indifferently. "Kiera, sit in the front. I only knew you before today." Everyone was stunned. They gave Kiera a strange look and Samuel quickly moved to the back seat. Kiera had no choice and got into the car a little awkwardly. After the women got in, Samuel joked, "Kiera, are you sure you've only met Senior Williams a few times in court and been warned by him a few times?" Kiera was embarrassed. She didn't expect Samuel to find loopholes in her lies so quickly. However, she didn't think that Brexter would expose her. A person like him would want nothing to do with her. However, to her surprise, Brexter turned his head to look at her. He raised his eyebrows and asked in a doubtful tone, "We've only met in court?" Samuel and the others immediately widened their eyes in curiosity. Kiera quickly replied vaguely, "Of course, we saw each other outside the court too. I met you when I went to the court to deliver the documents. Another time you helped me out when someone made trouble for me. Yes, later on, in order to thank me, you treated me to a meal." Brexter nodded. Samuel and the others immediately drew in a breath. Kiera continued dryly, "Yes, that meal only lasted for half an hour before we went home." Brexter nodded again. "Then we ran into each other again in the mental hospital not long after." Kiera gulped. He really wanted to expose her, didn't he? Brexter didn't seem to realize that the gazes of the three people behind him were getting more and more meaningful. He said, "Then we saw each other again at our alma mater just after a weekend. Why didn't you tell me that you also studied at the University of Legal Affairs?" "Why should I tell you?" Kiera asked, gritting her teeth. Brexter turned the steering wheel and didn't look at her. His tone was casual, but the content was explosive. "You should have told me during the blind date." Kiera regretted getting into this car. But what was this guy trying to do? Did he want everyone to know that they went on a blind date? "Looks like we've overheard something incredible," Colleen said suggestively. "Kiera, you were bad. You actually didn't tell us about your blind date with Senior Williams? You even acted like you weren't familiar with him just now. How can you do this to us?" Kiera felt like crying, but now she could only force an explanation. "That's because I know he is everyone's unattainable idol. If I told you that I went on a blind date with him, I'm afraid that everyone would think I've tarnished their idol. The girls and boys who admire him would die of jealousy. I'm a hard worker, but I like to keep a low profile. I try not to offend people as much as I can." As expected of a lawyer, she was very good at sophistry. She didn't even blink when she lied. "It's not unreasonable," Samuel nodded. "Then do you want us to keep it a secret?" "Yes." "Whatever." The two voices spoke at the same time. Samuel coughed lightly, a faint smile on her face. "It's best that you two come to an agreement first." Kiera stared at Brexter helplessly, but Brexter kept his eyes on the road and didn't look at her. He replied, "I don't like lying." What else could she say?